Hello YouTubers, this is the Nubifier. I subbed in this week for Twerk17 on the Redacted podcast. I enjoy being able to participate with a community like this, and I very rarely get the opportunity. This is not my regular content, however I wanted to post it up just in case you missed it. Please be sure to get into the LTI carrot giveaway that's supported by the Patreon backers. And my sincere thanks to the community. I passed 18,000 subscribers today, which I never thought was possible. I hope you enjoy.
It is Wednesday, March 1st, 2017. You're watching another episode of Redacted. This podcast is brought to you by ModMic. They just released their ModMic 5 not too long ago, delivering flexibility and performance all in one. Add a ModMic to your existing headset to make the ultimate gaming headset. Yeah. So, what's going on, guys? It is... Hello. Yeah. How are you?
Good.
Good. That's good. I'm glad to hear.
Transitions are real in this show.
Transitions are real. Yeah. Well, I was talking while you guys were still muted there. What have you guys been up to? Well, first, actually, before I jump into anything, we have obviously Nubifier is on the show again. Unfortunately, Twerk had to go to work early today, so he was unable to jump on. He will be back. I'm gonna say 100% next week.
Which can't say 100%.
I just did.
99.9. He did.
I just did. You can say it, but you can't mean that. Literally, his legs could fall off. I suppose he could still be here if his legs.
He could still be here. He'd more likely he'd be here because then he wouldn't have legs to go anywhere.
100%. You're right.
You see that?
Yeah, look at that. Just argue a little bit of logic with Board, and then completely change his mind. But yeah, Nubifier, why don't we start with you with
Sure.
what you've been up to and all that jazz.
So, again, hello to anyone who may have missed last week. I'm the Nubifier. I'm a Redacted YouTube content creator. I do no bullshit content to save you time. Last week, I did a quick and dirty no bullshit rundown on the Hurricane. That ship was pretty interesting. It still doesn't make a lot of sense to a lot of people, but that's fine. I'm sure it'll get balanced out. And I'm working on a video right now on drop ships. So what you need to know about all of the drop ships, plus those ships that have drop ship modules available for them, and even some ships that aren't drop ships that you might be able to use like that. I'm going to be working on the job series, which was pretty popular recently, and a reminder that the patron-backed LTI Carrack giveaway, which is on my channel, is going to be ending Saturday. So let all of your friends know, because that's really, really, it's a really big prize. So thanks to the patron backers, and thanks to everyone who got into that contest so far.
Awesome. That's it?
That's it.
That's it.
That's all you're getting.
That's all you're getting. All right, fine. All right. And Board, what about yourself? What have you been up to?
Where have I been?
And where have you been?
Where
have you been?
My house, in my room. That's pretty much all I do. I don't need to leave anymore. I've got a companion cube.
Oh yeah, that came from Loot Crate last week.
It did.
Yeah.
It took a while to disassemble.
Have you got the new one? I just got a new one in last night.
What? You just got a new one? I don't fucking.
No.
It takes ages to come to the UK, unfortunately.
It's a normal one, not the Loot Gaming though. I get the Loot Crate, the Loot Gaming, and the Lootware. I do have you guys switch because you guys always answer the phone at different times. I can change you guys real quick. That's okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I don't answer the phone at a specific time.
You should.
Every time.
You should. When I call, you better fucking answer. There you go.
We don't even call each other.
Let's see.
That's even weirder.
The beauty of live editing. Done.
I was just in England briefly.
But Board, do go on, please.
Mm-hmm.
So I have been messing around this week with the cheapest of VR headsets that I could find.
Oh, how is that?
IMAX 4K. It's not awful, but
it doesn't sound good.
It's certainly worth the money, which I got mine for £200, which would have been like $240 at the moment.
Yeah.
And with some love and attention and some, I mean, okay, the issue is that it's not very well supported by the manufacturer. Yeah?
Right.
So, I mean, I'm going to write some guides on it because if you fiddle around with a load of stuff, you can make it work really well.
It's a 4K display, right? Which is the first one. Is it look better than like you have a Vive? I have a Vive. Is it? Now I know the frame rate is lower and it's capped at 60, but does the screen actually look any better?
So okay, if you
not really
an issue
then, right?
with adjusting the IDP because you have to adjust
IPD.
effectively software. Whatever, my fucking eyes. So just an issue adjusting my eyes because you have to do it via software rather than hardware. So it's a bit weird.
Yeah,
I want to be able to
agree with you. That is
right.
kind of weird.
And the lenses, they're not going to be for everyone. It comes with one set of lenses unless there's some hidden somewhere. And for some people, they're going to be blurry. So you're going to have to do something, either pushing it away from your face or messing around with lenses or getting new lenses. For me, it's pretty good. Now, it's not the same build quality as a Vive or an Oculus, but for a Vive or an Oculus, you're spending 3 to 4 times the amount of money. The plus side is I got it working with Oculus and Vive games because it's of Chinese origin. They don't seem to care about other people's intellectual property.
Nope.
And we'll just go, this works with everything. Lol.
Yep.
And yeah. So
but that's good though. That means that there's a lot more titles for it.
Yeah, but it doesn't have the full range of movement either. It has most movement.
So what you're saying is it's worth 1/3 of a Vive.
It's it is. And for me, I'm able to find free games and demos and stuff with it again, which makes me feel like I'm having fun. I had significantly more fun with this Pimax 4K than I ever had with my Vive.
Oh wow.
Because there's just nothing. There was 2 games I played on the Vive that I really enjoyed, and they lasted like half an hour. Then I was done with them. Everything else was an expensive demo.
Yeah, a tech demo. I was just going to say that most of the stuff when that came out was just a tech demo.
Still is.
Yeah,
I get post-purchase guilt. Every purchase I make, I have some form of post-purchase guilt, and that can be if I've spent something that's £1,000, or if it's something that's £1. I get the same level of guilt and feeling, and this made me feel good about myself. Okay, it's just like I'm not sponsored or endorsed by them. Let's just say that to start with. But you plug that in and you're done.
Just 2 cables. Okay? Yeah.
Just boom, fucking boom. And I was just so happy with it. I was just, it's like a Oculus DK3 sort of thing. It's like Oculus DK 2.5. And I didn't get motion sickness. Some people said they had motion sickness and had some weird problems with it because they were, I think...
Well, if you'd never seen it before, right? If you'd never seen it before and you were looking at it the first time and it wasn't like that pure experience, then you may be more susceptible.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
It's a cheap VR experience. But it's good value, and I really like shit like that.
Yeah.
But other than that, I have been exploring different areas of Star Citizen on the Spectrum, trying to get involved as I can with devs who talk a lot on Spectrum and give me all of the news in the world, which is absolutely great. So people get involved on Spectrum because you can talk to devs and you can talk to lots of very knowledgeable people and ask them questions directly, which they seem to answer, which is just absolutely fantastic. Matt Sherman and Will, whatever his name is.
Leverett.
Sorry, Will. No, different one.
Oh, the writer Will?
Will Madden from Foundry 42, Cargo Systems designer.
Didn't even... Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I know. But they're just on there, and you say, what do you do? And they're very happy to tell you about their job and what mechanics they're working on. And it's great.
That's cool.
I actually really like Spectrum because I haven't really got involved with the communication platform before that on the CIG website anyway. So yeah, that's a cool thing. And I'm getting ready to go to an anime conference on Friday now, which I decided I was going to a minute ago.
Yeah.
Asaurus was talking about doing cool stuff, and I went, well, I'm going to go get drunk on Friday then. If you're going to all these cool places next week.
Fine.
So in regards to that, Saurus, what are you doing next week?
Well, let's go over what I've done this last week because I've been pretty busy actually. There has been quite a bit of stuff I've been doing. I started playing a bunch of different games. Stories Untold I played, which is this new like indie game It's like a first person, but mostly text-based adventure. And oh my god, it was so good. It was like based on like Stranger Things kind of vibe.
I played this. I played this through. This is
yeah. I beat this. I played all four. So I sat down and I just played through. And it was so fun, and it was so well done. Yeah,
and the stories linked together, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I was like, oh, this is it. For the first episode, you literally just sit at this computer that you see me sitting at. And that's it. And like the text to speech, or not the text to speech, but the text is like telling you the story of somebody coming in a house, and like you can hear it all and stuff. Like it's somebody in the house, and it goes through this whole thing. It's very interesting. It wasn't what I expected. At the end,
like an indie jam or something.
I don't know.
I remember seeing the house abandoned, just that first level that you played there, a while ago. And then it obviously came out very recently with all the 4 episodes, and I was like,
but if you haven't seen it, cool. And you want to check it out, I highly recommend it. It wasn't very expensive. I think it was like $5 or $10 or something. So yeah, that was really awesome. I've been doing a lot of, I got my Google Home in. So I've been doing a lot of Google integration, and I actually can demo that for you guys. Right now. So basically what is going to happen is my Google Home, this is for the house channel, is going to be able to do things like control lights, control OBS, control TVs, video, blinds, and I'm always looking for other things that it's able to do, but here's an example right here.
Hey Google, tell me a joke.
Okay, here you go. How does our solar system keep its pants up? With an asteroid belt.
Right?
Very funny.
So that's something that I've been working on. It took like 3 attempts to get them to accept that emote, which was a little bit ridiculous. I also hit $15,000 backed on Star Citizen. So I got that prestigious completionist title. I mean, that's all you really get.
Wow.
But yeah, so we hit that. And I've just been playing a bunch of other random games, trying things out, seeing that I don't like them, stop playing them, trying something else out, and just trying to open up my horizons a little bit more. I've also been looking into grabbing a PS4 Pro, just for some of the exclusives. I know I'm interested in games like Final Fantasy VII and what is the Uncharted series and things like that. But yeah, next week, also getting ready for PAX East. So I will be leaving here on Thursday and be coming back on the following Tuesday night. So I'll be gone for 5 days. Twerk will be joining me on Friday until Monday morning, and he'll be at my hotel. So once again, I've said this before, I'll say it again. If you guys want to meet up with us at any point, and you're going to be in Boston for PAX East, or you just live there or whatever, send me a tweet or hit one of us up on Discord. Yeah.
Are you going to be giving away any like silly packages like you did last time?
Socks.
I know some people got socks.
Yeah. So we will be setting something up. I'm going to be bringing my Benny's stickers. I have about 1,000 of those. I won't be burning
for me
all of them.
I want.
Yeah. Well, I'll be bringing those to TwitchCon and stuff as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so we will be doing that and doing all kinds of stuff. But yeah, I really liked how the silly packages, quote unquote, went over last time with the people that we saw at CitizenCon. So I want to do that for all conventions moving forward. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much it for me. Yeah, I mean I'm always looking for new like first-person horror games. So if there's something out there that you think is good. I also played one. It was called Root of Evil. And while the game was good and it had some decent jump scares in it, and I beat it in one sitting. It was made by a Vietnamese person. And they translated it themselves. And at first I thought, okay, they're just not going to say anything. Like there's not going to be any voice acting. It was just going to be text. And it would be like, door no handle. Right? Instead of door doesn't have a handle or whatever. So I was like, okay, whatever, I can get around this. But then they started introducing cutscenes with like the worst voiceovers ever. It was they were so bad they were good. They were like The Room good.
Do you remember the
How are I
House of the Dead
pregnant?
2? House of the Dead 2. Is the voiceovers worse than House of the Dead 2?
I don't remember, but they were on this. They were up there with like The Room.
Okay.
Like that's sort of where they're at. So it was pretty interesting. I've played Resident Evil. I played through Resident Evil 7 and all of its DLC already. I really enjoyed that game.
It's so good. Resident Evil 7, such a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
It was like a fresh IP almost.
So I want to remind everybody before we jump into the meat of the podcast that if you have any questions, type in !question in chat. That'll go into our Google spreadsheet here, and we will take a look at those at the end of this. Some quick shout-outs for some other Redacted content creators. Huge congrats to Terrellian for being on this past Citizen of the Stars for his work with CryEngine. And Super Mac Bros has just published a detailed video on ship balance, on the ship balance town hall. So after the video, go check that out. And you should be able to type in !Terrellian or !SMB in chat.
Some of us were just recording our lines for Terrellian for our Combined Arms 2. That was me. And also maybe, Soros, that you should mention that me and Noobify were also in This Week in Star Citizen in an article with...
Oh, I didn't have that written down.
Featuring YouTube... Well, you should just know it. You should just...
I should just know it.
You should just know it. It's the Community Spotlight, February 27th, YouTube Citizen, Board Gamer, Noobify, and some other chaps as well.
And some other chaps.
And some other guys.
I see.
Super cool. It made me very excited to see that because obviously, I mean, I'm still coming up a little bit, and to get basically called out like that again on something CIG on something official is great. It's perfect for me.
And then last but not least, Torque. Obviously, he's busy with work today. He's been playing some Conan, Mass Effect, a lot of Hellion. I know a lot of the content creators for Redacted have really liked Hellion and some of the stuff. For me, it makes me feel stupid, so I don't like it as much at this point in time.
Hellion
but
is fiddly as hell.
I do want to say this. I want to say that I think the idea is really cool. I think that it runs well for an alpha. And it looks good. But for me right now, the game just makes me feel really stupid. I mean, that's not a huge accomplishment, but it's it just is really frustrating to me. Moving forward, we had Chris Roberts on This ATV, and I will pull that up if somebody wants to go over that info.
I mean, it's going to have to be new because I'm not even reading anything.
Okay.
I'm clicking on random shit on this monitor.
Yeah, man, that's no problem. So this week there was a lot of really cool stuff around the verse that I noticed. Anyways, I liked how they did the garment layering. Like, it's not my thing normally to be worried about this MMO kind of stuff. I'm more into guns and stuff that blow up. However, I like optimization and I like to see progress. And this is both of those things. You have your garment, instead of just putting a jacket on top of everything and wasting all those resources, the system can now identify areas of the person's body where layered clothing exists and delete all the stuff that you would never see. So again, great news on optimization.
It doesn't delete it.
Okay, it just doesn't render it.
It doesn't render it, but it also does realize it's still there for layering purposes.
Right. So if you were to take the coat off, it knows that it should be visible. If you put the coat on it'll mask it. It's a neat piece of optimization. It's a tricky piece of code, and it's a core for building block for the remainder of the game development. So that was nice to see.
I'm hoping that it propagates well for damage states. So if I get shot by a laser, that it burns through the first layer, but the second and stuff like that. I mean, that would be so cool, and that's what we're here for quality, fidelity, beautiful looking. Like, oh my god, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Very much so for me.
Yeah, no, it is really cool to see them push, like, even something like this that I'd call, like, minor tech, is, like, just the different occlusions and things like that.
So this is the kind of thing that everyone's complaining that the game's taking such a long time to build. All of this stuff needs to be done before the rest of the game comes out. And I know people are educated and they know this by now, but I just wanted to remind that this is the kind of stuff that we didn't have in 2013, 14, and 15, which is why we don't have, let's say, Squadron 42 yet, because you might as well build this now and then do it and build the game off of it rather than, in a year from now, trying to put this back into the game the way it should be. So
this is more pushing towards optimization for stuff, isn't it? So
right.
I mean, this is all about them getting as high quality as possible,
right.
whereas also getting it as optimized as possible. And the more optimized they get it, the more quality they can put in, the more high detail they can put in.
Exactly.
And they're able to, in 2017, start to push the optimization, which is one of the last stages that you should do hopefully one of the last stages that they're doing before polish.
Mm-hmm. Moving forward, they've also been working with the Interact system and prototyping that, aka Grabby Hands.
Grabby Hands.
Lobster claws.
This was really cool because the guy grabs a little radar device out of a drawer, shows a variety of things you can interact with it, lots and lots and lots and lots of cool stuff you could do with it. But he takes it out, turns it on, and it starts to operate and show some radar contacts, then puts it on a table, closes the drawer. There's a lot you can do with Grabby Hands and the interaction system they want. It looks like you're going to be able to have like chest of drawers and have like notes and lots of different items in them and sit down and like do your admin for your office there. And it's just, it's a bit overwhelming, but it's pretty cool. I mean, it's going to keep people busy.
Yeah.
But there was more to that too. They also talked about the IR and EM signatures, how you're able to dial in particular emissions. And all of this goes towards what I'm excited about. I mean, I know it has place in different sections of the game, but for me, ship being able to be stealth or not, how much emissions that ship is emitting, how detectable it is, can I break radar lock, can I break missile lock, all of these things, which are placeholders now, because you do see EM and IR, but that's not the system as it's intended. That's a placeholder.
A very crude implementation of
right.
Of
so this is again the same thing. Like if I turn off my engines, I get a bonus for that I may not be able to be detected by heat-seeking missiles or not detected at all for that matter. Mm-hmm. So it's good news for those of you that own stealth ships. It seems to be on the way.
Or just anybody who wants more control over that stuff, right? So
run silent.
Being able to run silent and things like that.
For sure.
They've also been updated. Well, they mentioned updating the ship pages, and they showed it on there and to reflect what's on the ship. Now, I think that we are in agreement here that that's probably going to be migrating over to Spectrum, right? So I think a lot of stuff is going to be eventually coming over to Spectrum as, say, for example, the game wiki, the database, the map. You have all the forums and your communication. And so anything that could work inside the actual game as a manufacturer reference sheet or any sort of information that you could use actually in-game, I think is eventually going to make its way over into Spectrum one way or another. And then that will probably show up in-game via, say, like a Mobiglass application or something like that.
I'm actually getting more and more excited about Spectrum because I haven't really interacted with the CIG website much. From a form of as a communication platform with forums, chat, and that sort of stuff. But since Spectrum's there, and a lot of people seem to be using it, and it seems to be not full, it's not so poisonous, or at least it's more accessible to people that don't use it regularly. And that's probably what it is. There's less etiquette on it, or at least people follow it without needing to read it. It's a really good communication platform, and it's gonna hopefully have a lot of cool stuff in the future that we can help guide now. So by using it and saying we like this, we don't like this, we get to guide that communication platform. So get using it, talk, use things, use Spectrum. It's good. It's actually genuinely good. Weird. I didn't think I was going to like it.
Yeah, no, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I really enjoy, or I really like the direction that they're taking Spectrum, and its initial functionality, and I'm excited to start to see more stuff get integrated into that. I don't know what their schedule is like for that, because that is obviously completely separate than the development of the game and things like that.
But
It's
the nice thing about Spectrum is, unlike the game,
parallel. Yeah.
they can patch it, and you don't have to
Instantly.
download anything, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I know they're looking at voice, chat, forums, PMs on mobile, in game, like the whole thing coming together, so that you could actually check your forum post while playing the game on MobiGlass, like that level of full connection, which is really cool. And I think that what you said about the store getting updated, it only makes sense. You clean up, you pack up, and then you move. And that's what I think they're doing. They're getting all of the data ready, perhaps to migrate the store over, which is a next good step in getting rid of the old forums. And what I think we'll end up with is the old forum will be there as kind of an archive. All of the old posts, maybe there's plans to move it over. I think that would be really messy and maybe even not necessary.
I would burn the shit out of the old website.
Yeah.
It's awful. I'm sorry. I mean, it's fulfilled its purpose, which was an interim before they got something better.
Right.
They need to migrate everything over to Spectrum and have a better front end. Done. Boom.
Yeah, I mean, I see people saying, it's not Discord, or it's not this or that or whatever, and it's not as good as that. Yeah, you have to remember that this is the first. You have to remember that this is the first implementation of this, and while this will be good for Star Citizen, this isn't something that's going to be an overall everything kind of application. But what is going to make this really useful and bring people over to use it instead of Discord for Star Citizen is when they get the voice integration and game integration in. Those things are going to be really important, let alone any other tools they decide to bring in with it. But it is something that I think does do some really cool stuff and is sort of I feel I don't want to say this for 100% because I'm not sure, but I feel is a first for any sort of game company to be going in to this depth of a communications platform for their game.
They're building it for 10 years. They're like, that's what it looks like to me.
But the fact that someone has described it and compared it to Discord, I think speaks volumes. Discord's fucking amazing. Discord is a great solution, and Spectrum is a solution for Star Citizen, of which their previous communication stuff has been crap. So when compared to that, Spectrum is great, and they're taking like info from Skype, Discord,
all those
TeamSpeak,
things,
all of the good platforms, and they're trying to merge them into one. And it's up to you guys to keep them honest with it and keep them on track with it. So say I want it more like Discord.
Yeah,
rip off Discord.
Yeah, why not? I mean, they're doing something right with Discord. Push towards more of that functionality.
Yeah. They've also changed. They're going to be changing the Hangar prefabs. They're replacing those with object containers. So similar to what we've seen with the room system and things like that.
It's different from the room system.
But
I did a video on this yesterday because people were getting the things a bit turned around. The room system does contain some of that stuff.
Right.
It needs to be seen as a different
I mean,
thing.
this will still have the room system with it.
Part of it.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
So why don't you clear that up for everyone, including myself?
Yeah, no worries. So you've got the mega map, okay? The mega map is a very small level which has the framework to allow for object container streaming and object streaming and that sort of stuff. So they, in all forms at the moment, well, when we get 2.6.2 anyway, you will load into a tiny level, whatever you're doing, the same tiny level, and they will stream everything around you. And this eliminates preload. Okay? So there's no preloading, everything can be streamed. You can jump between Arena Commander and the Persistent Universe, and you've got practically no loading times. Then you have object containers, which are basically the same as the mega map, but they allow for something to be defined as an object to which other things are streamed from or to, and have different levels of detail and stuff. So you could have a ship as an object container. You could have a part of a ship as an object container. You could have a Bengal split up into 8 different object containers while also remaining an object container itself. And because of that, they basically, of each of those object containers, they can stream in exactly what they need for those individual areas. And when you move them between them, they have different levels of detail, and it just makes everything run a lot better. No preload, everything streams around you. It's very resource efficient. The room system is specifically referring to now to the pressure, oxygen, and atmosphere that rooms can contain.
Right.
Now, obviously, object containers will be part of the room system effectively, because everything will have some form of value of, is it in space?
Atmosphere, non-atmosphere, or certain
Yeah.
gases or whatever, right?
Yeah, I'm assuming that space in general will be treated. I don't know how that's going to be treated in the room system, the outside of areas. But inside a room, you could have 8 different rooms, all separated by airlocks. At the moment, airlocks in game are faked. So when you move into an airlock without a spacesuit, you die.
That's why if you glitch through them, it doesn't do anything.
Right, because you didn't go through that threshold.
Yeah, but you'd have eight rooms separated by airlocks. They could all have different values for oxygen, CO2, pressure, environmental hazards. And opening the doors would normalize them between the 2 areas after time.
Now, a little bit to go off track just for 1 second. Do you think that this is something, we've heard about planets that have different gases or whatever that could affect you, like make you drunk or something or whatever. Do you think that this is a system that they could use to introduce, say, poisonous gases that eventually like damage you over time, or something that gets you drunk or whatever on certain planets?
There is definitely going to be environmental hazards. They've partially talked about it before. They've talked about different damage types being from storms and things to vehicles and to you. So there's going to be buffs and debuffs in certain areas, certain weathers, and there's going to be there could be toxic gas, there could be lightning storms, there could be lots of different things. And I think that the room system will handle environmental effects like that as well. So I'm assuming that it will tie into some form of life support system stuff. But life support systems do more than just say your ship's alive. Thing. Just I hope they actually generate oxygen. I don't want to go down the same route as Hellion. Hellion is far too fucking fiddly.
Yeah.
I like the idea of basic. This has got pressure. This has got more pressure than this room. You open the door, the crate might get sucked out.
So I have a question though. Would this not be on the lines of the next step that we would need to be able to transition from the hangar to the persistent universe? I know that we're like don't quote me on this, right? That's not a thing now. It's not even a blip on the radar. But to get that level, the hangar would have to exist in the universe so that the door opens and then, the universe is drawn the way it's supposed to. I imagine that this would be an iterative step going from just a straight raw model to something that conforms to what the universe system is going to be using.
So all of those things that were mentioned, other than the room system, are probably needed to be there before we start to see a hangar exist in the persistent universe in the way that you can transition from your hangar to the persistent universe as it existing in the same space. Right. That said, with the object container streaming stuff that they are putting in now and have in the mega map effectively, they can kind of fake it to the point where you wouldn't know any different. Because you literally could just walk out of a door and they would just come from an instance, which they don't want to do in the future, you'd be in the verse. There's no preload. There's going to be no preload.
Right.
Or so fractional that you won't notice. It's just, it's very impressive. It is genuinely very impressive.
Moving forward, they also showed on ETV more work on the UE Explorer suit and the UE Heavy suit. I have a video for that here.
Yeah, so that's the suit that was in the Connie commercial where they basically landed and breached the Prime Directive.
But they also showed the Outlaw Heavy, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yes, very briefly.
I think that's literally the best thing ever. Like I've never been so excited by a piece of armor before.
The one that had the face shield that closed was actually really neat as well. I'm curious to see how that looks like from the player perspective. But
yeah, no, it's really cool. Like looking at it, Now, yeah, this is the Outlaw with.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was the one with the one that was closed. Now, so I'm wondering with this, is that going to be a screen that we see? And this is something I've been talking about before. I'm surprised that this is the first time we're sort of seeing it, looking like it's implemented in game. Now this is the UE one.
Well, you might get EMP.
Yeah, like EMP.
Yeah,
and that's going to be your downside for that. So I'm really excited for it. It looks, that armor does look
I know,
really
right?
awesome.
more like a power suit.
I'm ready.
I'm ready for it, CIG.
Yeah.
I'm ready for cosplay.
Yeah, and just to touch on Spectrum again really quickly, they did talk about an ATV, talking about sort of a total communication platform with voice, chat, forums, PMs, both on your phone, on your PC, and in-game. And on your phone and PC, not only on the web, but as its own standalone application, which I believe would be the launcher for PC anyways. For phone, I think they're looking at an Android and iOS app.
The tail end to that. No, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Does it work on the phone already?
It's very rough. So when
Yeah.
I try to open it on my phone or my tablet, because I've tried this several times, it gives me an error. It's saying that the page doesn't exist.
Oh, I mean that is an error.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk a little bit on the tail end of that Spectrum thing, because that was the meat of the whole ATV. Really, the tail end of it was very, very detailed. And I think it's Turbulent. Those guys, they're always in the chat. So if you actually wanted to go talk to them and make suggestions, they're being very proactive that way. The thing that I got very excited about is the idea that there's going to be a switch. So if you're using in-game VoIP and you're in, let's say, Caterpillar, and you're being boarded, you can talk on the radio to your guys, but you also have the option to switch to what they're calling an intercom. So you could broadcast in the ship. So the people, you could basically taunt the guys who are coming onto your ship. So again, next level stuff. This is what got me excited about Star Citizen to begin with, was this level of freedom. And that's really what the easiest way to describe it is. Anything you could think of doing, most of it you can actually achieve in the game. And it's all that building blocks of fun. TM.
Building blocks.
Fun. I'm just thinking of Kazoo Kid.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, we also had a concept sale last week on Friday with the Anvil Hurricane.
Let's put more guns on a ship.
I know.
We'll sell well.
Okay,
It's
so
a saber.
I was pretty upset actually when it first launched, because their communication with it wasn't very good. But I'll take my own responsibility on, and I mean it was a difficult read, but I misunderstood it. So I had thought that it was we all knew it was coming out as a glass cannon. And I had thought, okay, it has 2 size 4 mounts on the nose with 2 size 3 gimbals on it. Okay, that makes sense. And then I was under the understanding that the turret was a size 4 with 4 size 3 weapons on it. And that was like, so yeah, so I was freaking out. I'm like,
But that's what it said on the form. Like
that's what it said. And so I was like, in like a weird sort of way. And I was like, okay, well, that can't be right. And then I don't know. I think there was a miscommunication in between me and Matt. And Matt was Matt Sherman, and he was like, "Well, we're making changes to turrets, and we haven't really announced it yet." I was like, "Well, if this is what you're doing, you shouldn't announce it with a thing." But then Calyx came in. He got Calyx come in and explain it, and Calyx was like, "Whoa, hold up! What size do you think they are?" And he's like, "No, it's a size 7." But you won't be able to put just a size 7 weapon on there as a standalone because it's too big. So that's what they're going to be changing, sort of, I guess, with the turret stuff. And it's not going to be all 1-to-1. But we now know that a size 7 mount can take a size 7 turret that holds 4 size 3 weapons.
Well, that might be specific to the Hurricane. That
Right.
might be a proprietary turret.
Yeah, but
And
that's
some
going to
of
be
these turrets will
confusing.
be.
Right. So that, and exactly. So that, to me, would be something that is confusing. Like, they had a really, I felt anyways, they had a really good system down for how the weapons worked. You know,
Yeah.
what fit on what and why and how. I understand. I understand saying, hey, you know, this has a size 7 weapon mount, but we can't put a size 7 weapon on it because then it's a giant weapon with some tiny thrusters on it. So I get that, but it's sort of an interesting thing. Anyways, it went for sale for $160 if you paid with cash, $175 if you use credit or any credit at all. It is a heavy fighter, but that doesn't mean mass or armor. It means more of weapons and operating range, which we also learned a little bit with, say, like the size 10 weapons, I believe it was, on some of the capital ships. This was something from Spectrum as well, and saying that it's going to have a much longer range than what we see now. So you may see longer range.
Beyond visual range combat. Yeah. So this is really important to me because obviously you are going to be fighting at some extreme ranges with huge weapons. Mm-hmm. So those size 10 guns, large torpedoes, even with the retaliators now, you can kind of be fighting where you can't see or just fighting by radar blips and stuff like that. So it's an important system to have in the game, and they're going to have it. We don't know exactly what forms it will take yet, really. But it will be an important aspect of the game, fighting beyond visual.
Yeah, so that starts the speed balance from Tuesday. That was the first question for that John Crew and Andrew Nicholson, where they did that almost like a 10 for town hall kind of arrangement, and that there I found even more useful than ATV. That had a lot of very a lot of questions answered really. So.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty cool. I saw the Reddit post with everything going on with that.
If only there was somewhere on the redacted forums that some handsome yet devilishly egg-headed
looking dude posted it, like that link that you just posted in chat.
Very similar to that link.
Very, very similar. I'm sure if you click on that, it may even take you somewhere that'll help you lead there. Well, that's really weird.
So to quote Brainpower, are you guys ready? You guys want to talk about the cargo ship speed limit thing?
Yeah, well, this is the thing. Okay, so let's hold on to that because I want to talk about happy hour really quickly before we jump into that too much.
That's a good that's a salty bit maybe.
There's some juicy stuff in there. So let's go they made a flying alien spider. And this, in my opinion, is one of the best segments they've done. Period. This is the kind of stuff that I want to see from CIG. I was even saying, like, I watched this after the fact. But even if this was something like them building shrubs or interior panels of a space station or a seat or whatever, this is kind of the stuff that I would like to see a lot more of. Now, this is actually a bigger deal, like a whole creature. Seeing it go like this is a bigger deal than what I would even like to see on a regular basis. But I think this is a good idea for content for what CIG should be doing with that subscriber money.
Yeah, and this was the same experience for me that we saw at SitCon last year, where they didn't have anything to show, so they showed us the tool set for building the planet. Mm-hmm. You know, how he was able to deform and, here's a lake and here's a thing.
Yeah, it's like that building process. I want to see the building process.
My mind was blown by that. And same with this, watching him, how quickly he can go through the different tool sets. And it's almost like he's not even thinking about using the software. He's just as if he's sculpting it out of clay.
Or if he's drawing it with a pencil or something. Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
It was so comforting to see how effective and how comfortable he is with that software, because it's, he's professional. I get that, but until you see it, you don't really. It doesn't make sense.
He doesn't have to worry about texturing or high poly making, so he can kind of go crazy.
Right, his shape, which is the shape guy.
Yeah, and you can see that he is really into what he's doing. He's like,
and he was like pulling and stretching. It was really cool. That's all.
And able to go crazy as well. Which I really like.
And they were able to take, like, the whole thing was based off of chat suggestions, which I thought was also really cool, right? Which was like, maybe somebody does have a good idea. Yeah, there's a lot of people out there that have stupid ideas, right?
Yeah,
But once in a while you get people that are like, oh, you know what? Let's try that. Let's see how that would work. Or
Yeah,
or
it was all
let's see
straw
how
poll.
that.
It was neat.
I like diamonds in the rough. I mean, who would have thought that literally having a spider that emerges from a man's crotch would have been a good idea? But,
So
but
Yeah.
it was a beautiful thing. It was a beautiful
next week
thing.
we won't see any Jared because he's been fired because of spider crotch.
Yeah.
Fired because spider dick.
But it would be cool to see them do like individual plants.
Yeah.
Like
It would be.
this is something I feel like they will never really run out of little assets that they need to make for Star Citizen anyways, that they could just prototype or throw together in something like this. And this is there's a lot of times where we're like, hey, this live stream was bad, or this was whatever. This is something that I want to say, hey, this was one of the best shows that you guys have done ever. And I want to see more of it. And I think a lot of people want to see more of it.
You can even see that from the comments. Like the comments were all mostly positive, unlike the weeks before where, it's people like, oh, skip to 10 minutes, the whole thing's a waste of time, which is really, counterproductive. But I mean,
Stop
whatever.
talking about stuff and where's 3.0?
Yeah,
Where's
exactly.
3.0? Anyways, not to get off on a crazy tangent, this segment, quite correctly, as you say, Saurus, got upvoted better than any, like very, very well received. And I know why. It was really interesting, and it was definitely value
It was content.
added, so,
it was actual content.
yeah.
It wasn't just, hey,
Right.
these are some ideas that we have, or this is
Right.
whatever. It's like a very visual, and this is what I've been saying the whole time. I want to see stuff in white box and gray box more often. I want to see the building process of everything.
That's why we're here.
And yeah, I mean,
I really like the rawness of stuff. I don't like heavily contrived things. So this was not heavily contrived. It wasn't sort of like a fake weird feeling of like, what am I watching? Oh, this is cringy. Oh, they're putting in a joke. It was real, and it was cool, and it was interactive, and it was enjoyable as hell.
yeah.
Really enjoyable.
So hats
So
off
would you
to
guys like to
CIG
see-
for
Yeah.
this, and I definitely want to see more of this kind of stuff as much as possible. Now I know that not all devs are going to want to get on camera and do work on camera, and they're going to feel very pressured. Obviously, he looks like he felt very comfortable just messing around and doing stuff like that. So, whatever, how many creatures are in the universe? You can make all kinds of stuff.
What about next month or something? They have the next part of that. They take that model and then they show you how they do the art for it. How
Yeah,
they
like the
how
texture.
they animate it. Right.
Or
So there's a lot
animations
of
and
potential
stuff,
there
yeah.
because you could see this is how we animate it, and this is how we color it, and this is how we do the shading and the light, and this is how we do the
Well,
damage
this is the
states
thing
on
is
the spider.
my only concern is maybe some of those processes aren't nearly as fast. Like for example, the animation
Yeah.
stage. So the animation stage may not translate well to live streaming,
Okay.
right?
But
But
they could still show you like processes, just like they do with a cooking show. They
Right.
put it in the oven and then magically it's cooked. The next step. So
Yeah.
That's what I made earlier.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
So it's like, okay, so this week we've been working on the alien or this spider animations, and these are the animations we've had so far, and this is how we did some of this stuff, and this was the sort of difficulties or whatever, and just talk about it and while showing it for an hour.
exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, really cool stuff. I really, really hope we see more of this kind of content coming out of a CIG as an official thing, because I think this is what a lot of us want to see. Yeah. So
They can actually call it. They can have a segment called "What's in My Crotch." It can be a different.
what's
should not.
in
Fun
my
animal.
crotch?
They should not.
But yeah, no, it was crazy seeing Josh, like how quickly he can move with that. It's still really, really awesome. Okay, I see this. This is all under speed balance in the dock. This was all from
Town hall.
the town hall with John Crew and Andrew Nicholson
Yep.
from the UK flight balance team, joining community manager. I'm gonna pull up the video here if you want to go over the points, and we'll talk about them as we bring it up.
Sure. So the one we've already talked about was the beyond visual range thing, and that's been confirmed, and that's based on particular instances, like very, very large weapons should be able to do that, and smaller caliber, not so much. The one...
That gives.
Now, this was something they were
Tell me.
originally against. Right.
Yeah, but
this
it's realistic.
But they're
they don't want dots fighting. As the idea is they want people to see the beauty of the game. But having stuff like the Terrapin and Scouts and Scannercraft and
stealth,
this kind of gameplay
and the size of, and how large those large ships are going to be. It doesn't make sense that they're literally side by side each other.
Right.
So
that was one of them for sure. The next question that was asked was with regards to realism versus game balance. And it was really down to, should large ships be faster or slower? Because in real life, you would propel something and it would keep building up in speed. And right now we already have SCM speeds, and that's done mainly for game balance. But, there's lore built into it that the guy will black out or some other reason that makes sense. However, let's distill it down to what it is. It's for game balance. The Super Hornet is slower than the Saber because it's supposed to be, not because of physics. So that kicked off kind of a rough debate in one of the Facebook forums, where some guys like, I confirm that, large ships like a cargo, a Hull C, won't be able to go fast. And my first take on that was like, okay, that was a given. But it's bad because people have to remember the game has to be balanced, and Chris Roberts is not making a game to be a full-blown simulator, right? It's not, it's realistic to a point, but it also has to be fun, universally fun for everyone. So, example, you have a Hull C that's doing Mach Chicken across space, and you are unattainable because you're going so fast that no one could actually reach you or interdict you or anything. That may be fun for the person in the Hull C who doesn't want to fight anybody, but that's not valuable gameplay either, because then you might as well just say, I've left the dock and I've arrived at my destination and I get money. There's no point in actually flying the route if there's no gameplay. So that's why in the Navy we have large ships that go slow, and that's not space. And in this game, it's basically been confirmed that that's the way that the larger ships are going to behave, even though it's not realistic.
Well, this is something that Chris Roberts has sort of talked about and hinted at with how he does his game design. Is it uses like those sort of what I'm going to loosely call the World War II mechanics, right? So using things like airplanes and ships and tanks or things like that. So that's where they're saying, and they even reference that in this video, where they said, you don't see a C-130 out flying a Raptor. Like, it's just not happening. But there are two different purposes for what those do. And so that's sort of why they're going with that route.
So it's very important for me that the mechanics for piracy, for cargo running, and that sort of stuff, that it is not just a way of escaping pirates full stop. And having ships like cargo ships that can be faster than light fighters and that sort of stuff is just insanity. It's just like, well, there's no point in playing as a pirate.
It has to be fun for everybody, right?
Yeah, but so the mechanics that they want to be targeting, in my opinion, is that they want to be going, look, I have a choice as a cargo hauler to where to fly, what to do. Do I hire escorts? What cargo to carry? Do I negotiate with pirates? Do I take precautions against interdiction? There's lots and lots of choices, including route planning and all this sort of stuff. From a pirate's point of view, if they are able to catch you out and grab you, they've done a lot of work to do that. And they're going to have to be in relatively fast ships. They can't be in super slow ships themselves. They've got to be in like a mixture of light fighters and stuff to engage you. You then, as a cargo hauler that's been caught out by light ships or whatever, have the ability to outlast them until help arrives, or negotiate with them to give them some of your cargo, or die, but not to self-destruct, because they will heavily discourage that people blowing themselves up, going, oh, I don't like pirates, blow myself up. But it's important to have those mechanics where, I've been caught with my pants down, I haven't hired escorts.
You wear pants?
They caught me.
There's causality. right? There's that cause and effect that if you don't plan, and this, let's again, I know there's tons of people that are buying Polarises with the intention of putting just AI in it and driving around the universe in it, but that's not the intent, right? That's not the intent. It's supposed to be a multiplayer, massively multiplayer game where teamwork is supposed to be fun and we're supposed to gravitate towards teamwork.
But at the same time, if you want to play solo, you can. It's just those ships aren't meant for that.
And that's the thing, is I think the people that are particularly upset that they're not getting the lightning speed Hull C are maybe the same people that are proposing to just put AI on the ship and grind back and forth. And again, I'm not saying that those people shouldn't be able to have fun. It's just they shouldn't be able to expect to go through Vandal territory with the Hull C at lightning speed and win. Like, it's not God mode or something like that.
There needs to be risk reward. Everything needs to have a way of doing it and a way of being captured and a way of being mitigated. And loads of these things come together to give you a gameplay experience which you can't predict all the time. You want to be able to have fun. You want to be able to have that gameplay. And there shouldn't be like I've made a video on how to make the most money in the game without having to take any risk. That would be just boring. And people would do that, and they'd have a boring game.
I mean, at the same time, I think that those videos will exist.
Oh God,
right?
Yeah,
he's like, those are my ideas.
Those videos will definitely exist, but the thing is, there shouldn't be an easy button in the game. And I'm sorry. I know that this is going to sound like, I'm just harping on the same thing. And those people that are frustrated by this, this was never part of the plan, and maybe you misunderstood where the game was going, that it was going to be like Kerbal or some, ultra realistic, super physics-based game like DCS, that like it's a raw simulator. Those are popular, but not very popular. Like, it takes a special person who wants to sit there and flip individual switches. And I'm not saying that's a bad gameplay. It's just not universally appealing, right? That's almost an indie game. So
you want some elements of those games in there.
Oh yeah,
but some very specific elements that have not necessarily the most aggressive learning curves. You want something that anyone can pick up, that is mainstream, that's fun, but has depth if you want to put the extra mile in. That is really hard to do. That is really hard to do because they need to find a balance there. But that balance should not go in the way of full 100% super physics simulation, because that's insanity. Because people then there'll be the physics debates that they do something they think is physically correct, and people are like, well, actually, in a black hole, your balls explode from your eyes.
Your balls explode, and then the spider comes out. The spider
comes out.
Yeah. No, but like Grand Theft Auto, Call of Duty, Dota, Battlefield, Assassin's Creed, Minecraft, all these games, the very, very popular games, none of them are based on real physics, obviously, or else, not that no one would play it, but there has to be that balance between game fun, and that's why I'm here. I'm not here to, if I wanted to learn how to drive
DCS,
a car,
we'd play DCS.
I would just go in real life and drive my car, like if I wanted Car Simulator. Why would I bother to play it on a video game? So
because you can drive your car from the comfort of a seat. Oh wait,
my car's pretty comfortable. Anyways, that's my take on it. If you guys have questions about it or have,
that's why I never understood sports games, by the way.
Exclamation question.
Yes.
Keep this discussion going if you really want. If you have an opinion on it, I would love to hear it. Because
if you have any questions, of course, do that. Get that in there. Click on the link and submit that.
You want to put this one to bed and go to keep going?
Let's move forward.
Okay. So the turrets was another thing that was brought up in the the speed balance reducing, bringing ships closer so that turrets can be effective. They specifically said that turrets were going to get an overhaul to make them viable. And once again, there was a citizen that contacted me and said, like the future, we wouldn't have turrets. We would have auto guns or stuff like that. But then it comes back to the fun. You don't have sci-fi Millennium Falcon with auto turrets. You have Luke and I forget who it was, Han Solo in the turrets, enjoying themselves, having a good time, blowing up TIE fighters. That's exactly the kind of gameplay. That's the epic gameplay that would be fun. So yes, having a turret that just shoots stuff is realistic. It's not fun. And it's good news that they're actually well aware that the turrets aren't where they should be. And they've specifically addressed it. They were working on it. So good news.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up from
Yeah,
for,
I
for
mean,
UK.
turrets is something that they've been struggling with for quite a while, and still,
Great.
yeah, it still has a long way to go, but I am excited to see some progress eventually come out to that.
And
Right,
they
I
do-
want to see people prefer to use multi-cruise ships over a single-seater ship, but right now that preference just isn't
No
there
reason.
because
Right.
it doesn't work properly.
Next question that we're talking about was decoupled EVA, which is, again, this is the debate. Where's fun in physics, right? So the physics is that you should be able to get up to speed, and IFCS will slow you down. But if a player was able to be floating in space and decouple, then you could effectively do one of those crazy 24-hour live streams where you're just traveling from, Jupiter to Pluto.
Yeah.
No one watch it.
Well,
They
this is
shouldn't,
this is the thing, though. I sort of disagree with where you're going with this. I would say that it would be nice to see them use the same sort of system that they have on ships, where you can decouple and you can toggle in between that.
That's what they're proposing to do, though.
Yeah.
So right now we don't have that, and they're saying that it is their intent to figure out a way to make it work. And they specifically said that they're trying to make it so that the ship controls that people are used to with their keyboard and mouse translate exactly to a person, so that as you're flying your ship, it's the same comfortable feeling for navigating your player.
And
in
we've
space.
definitely seen that with the homogenization of controls across the board, especially with these last control changes that they made. I believe that was in 2.6, right? Was the last time they've made some major control changes?
A major, Well, 2.5, 2.6 both had pretty crazy keybind changes. So again, the frustration seems to be over.
User friendly though.
Okay, yes, they're making it, but not to the people that are used to it, and that was the frustration. Change is bad in this case, but no, the overall effect is correct. That they're making all of the controller maps the same for whether you're floating in space or flying a ship, and that at the end of the day is good and could have been done a lot sooner, but whatever, it's here now. It's a good thing. Embrace it.
Yeah. Our next thing here, will the flight stats go down with cargo? So I'm not sure what this means.
Okay, I can do this one too.
Yep.
So empty freelancer, heavy freelancer, they'll behave differently. That was the perception. They confirmed that it won't be so bad. So what I thought was going to happen is you would load up your Connie and it would just be a slug. It would be a sitting target or a sitting duck. What they said, though, is when the ship's empty, because of GSAFE and IFCS, even though your thrusters can go to 100, when you hit it, you're not getting 100, and the ship will pitch around at a particular rate so that you don't die. When you load up the cargo, the IFCS will automatically add more thrust to offset the amount of mass that the ship carries, and it would behave almost the same. It would be a little bit heavier, but the pilot wouldn't seem. And this is fine. I think it's coming down to that whole making it so people get the experience that they're used to, whether the ship's full or not.
And it's very important to remember that was in some cases. So it was some ships, some cases. So, some ships, when they are fully laden, are going to, like Hull E, for example. I suspect when fully laden will be like a slug.
A slug, for sure.
But some of these ships have extra
your Lancers
thrust.
and Connies, though.
Yeah, they have extra thrust, some of them, which they can put, if they're fully laden, to help that they wouldn't normally use, because it would be unsafe to use that thrust normally.
Right.
And I think that's pretty cool. I think that's a reasonably good way of dealing with it. Like, you go, well, you're not the slowest thing in the world. It's just you need to be slow enough that fighters can catch you if they catch you with your pants down.
Right. So the takeaway of that was the flight model that you have now with your Connie is approximate to what it will be like, whether it's full or empty. So if you're used to your Connie, don't worry that it's going to magically become a slug, because it's behaving quite like it is when it's full anyways. It's good.
They also talked about if we're going to get a player flyable Connie in AC. and that is the plan. But we're not going to get it yet because we need the multi-crew lobbies. So we have multiplayer lobbies, but we don't have multi-crew lobbies. So you can't assign roles to specific players. And I think that's something that they need to do before we can do these arena like that in arenas. Now they may go that direction, or they may go with, okay, well, now that we've figured out the hangars, we can spawn in the hangars in these arenas.
Right.
And spawn everybody on foot in the hangars, then you got to go out and do it that way. But there's other different ways that they can sort of tackle this. But the big thing is there's no way for them to do it currently, so that's why it's not in.
Yeah.
The other thing is, will hit indicators be improved? Because right now it's difficult to tell sometimes not only if we're getting hit, but how hard we're getting hit and how hard we're getting damaged. They talked about how the multifunction displays are going to be upgraded. Plus, we know that FOV is something that was a touchy subject for a lot of people, but we know that is going to be adjustable.
Right.
So up until recently, you were able to change that via the user config. Now, I remember playing with it a couple times way back when, but apparently they removed it. Is that correct? They removed the ability to do that through the user config? Or was it just
to change it?
Was it just that I know the HUD doesn't scale with the FOV.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I'm not sure because I haven't tried to use it lately, and I wasn't sure. Some people were. It sounded like some people were saying that it doesn't work. It may. I know that the HUD doesn't scale properly with it. Like it just goes tiny and weird in the middle of the screen.
Yeah. But
that is something they're going to be working on.
What they were talking about here was specifically, it was very, very good news. If you have an Aegis ship like a Saber or even a Vanguard, the MFDs are very small and you almost have to zoom in or use the force to figure out what you're targeting or anything like that. They are aware that the HUDs and the MFDs are very difficult to read. And they were talking about changing the GUI, the size of the text, so that even if you were on your normal field of view or whatever, without having to go through any crazy steps, that when you look down slightly or in the corner of your eye, it's there and it's actually usable. So very, very good takeaway. Right now, some of the ships don't even have functioning HUD.
Yeah.
And that's coming. The Gladius, I think, is the one that's the most finished. And you'll know it because when you get in, it goes through like a little bit of an animation. That's the most finished one. And then some of them that are just outright broken are going to get some love too. So we're not at end state here, obviously. And that was the good takeaway from that. And another thing, they were talking about hit indicators. Right now, all you see is your shield kind of speckle, and you don't know how hard you're getting hit. And it's
sometimes you don't even see that. If you're getting shot from behind, sometimes
you won't even
your shield
and then
won't
you just
reach
blow
over
up, and you're like, I was one-shotted or something, and it wasn't the case. The guy was actually shooting you the whole time. So they were talking about ways of making that realistic or more realistic, that on an MFD, you'd actually see the direction you're getting hit and the intensity of that segment. Just like in a first person, you would know. There would be
I would like to even have something come up on the heads up display that is like, just like hey, indicator. You're getting hit, whatever.
Right.
And so that would be
as
cool
long as we're getting some better forms of indication. So at a glance, I can tell how fucked I am.
Yeah,
that's what I want. I just want at a glance from whatever it is, whether it's sound. Well, probably not just sound. Sound should obviously play a factor, but visuals, VFX,
even if the shield on the HUD on the MFD were to start flashing when it was getting hit, it could be something very simple like that. Because I've noticed my ship go from full shields to no shields to yellow to red, and then I'm like, what the hell just happened? And it was just because I wasn't aware that someone was actually over here shooting me while I was trying to shoot this guy. Again, positive. That it's good that they know and that they're talking about it.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, gimbals have continued to be a frustrating situation for some people. They were saying, with interactive mode, mouse is easier to aim. HOTAS is sort of easier to fly, and track IRM was mentioned. Now, according to the leaderboards, you have this in parentheses here. Mouse is more novice than dual or HOTAS.
So before everyone starts being triggered, okay, the in context, what specifically they were saying is according to the leaderboards, when they go look at your data, our data, when we're flying, they were saying that the majority of the pilots that are competitive are using some form of joystick controller, and that there's less likely to be a keyboard and mouse. And if you go down further, most of the quote unquote more novice, I'm sorry, that's not what it means, but the more novice players are tending to use keyboard and mouse. That doesn't mean, that's not an indication of skill or anything like that. It's just the way that the data is. And
now I know people were really, really upset about interactive mode with mouse.
Yeah, the ability to
be able
it
to
seemed like an
use the
advantage,
gimbals, right?
Yeah. So
oh no, go ahead.
No, the point of the whole question was, like, they talked about it and they said, yes, in the past it was a big thing. They said that they're probably not going to address it anymore. They're going to try to balance it out with weapon stats and stuff like that, rather than saying, you must use a joystick or you must use a keyboard and mouse, because I know that's not where Chris is going with the game. And you have to be able to choose. Then they went a step further and said, not only can you have keyboard and mouse and joystick, but you can choose any combination of up to 4 controllers that you can plug in. So you could have a throttle and 2 joysticks and a mouse.
Whoa. Or 4 throttles.
Or 4 throttles, exactly.
Can I use 4 mice?
Or one of those stylus pen things. You could just fly with a stylus if you really wanted
to. This is what I need to know. Can we use a whole guitar or a rock band setup and play with the drums with your feet, the guitar, you got the guitar and a microphone.
Rock band.
Multi-crew
Or Dance Dance Revolution pad. You put that on the ground and you're just like...
And you roll your chair around while you're doing all of that?
Yeah,
that's
for
what
sure.
I want.
So again, not to get people salty, but that was where the conversation went. And they basically said that, yes, some people perceive it as being an imbalanced situation, that, there's a massive advantage for having gimbals. If you're a joystick pilot, you always think that the gimbal pilot has some advantage over you, and then the gimbal pilot thinks that the joystick guy has an advantage. Whether it's right or wrong, in my opinion, I don't ever feel that I'm outclassed. And I know that even within my own org, there are people that say, no, you're straight up wrong. And that's cool.
Yeah.
So, whoops, lost audio.
I am going for using...
I'll be right back. I can't hear you.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm going for using mouse and throttle. Like that's my preferred medium. I want to fly in relative mode. I don't like using gimbals. I want to fly in relative mode with the mouse. That's how I've learned to fly. And I want the function that throttles give you, or an analog keyboard.
Right.
I want to be able to adjust my throttle.
For me, it's more of mouse and keyboard are what 90. I'm going to say 90%. I think it's going to be higher than that, but 90% of what the player base is going to use. And for me, I could have sat here and played with a HOTAS this whole time or whatever, and eventually gotten used to it and all of this other stuff. But I sort of wanted to do I guess what the common player is going to be using. And that is going to be mouse and keyboard. Everybody has the ability to use that. Not everybody has the ability to go to a joystick or whatever. And that's sort of what my argument is. Everybody who has this game has a mouse and keyboard, right? Yeah. Not everybody who has this game has a HOTAS or a joystick or whatever.
More importantly, it's your choice.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what the devs are saying. If you think that guy has an advantage,
then
go buy it and not suck it up. They didn't say like that, like it's your problem or anything like that. It's just that it's not a problem, because it's not like they're preventing you from using it. They're like, Source, you must use joysticks. You're like, boo. It's not like that. You can go use whatever you want. So again, dual mouse, HOJAM, HOTAM, whatever you want to do. And yes, I saw a guy who's trying to use dual mouse and...
Dual mouse! 4 mice!
Balloon.
Oh my God.
4 mice? No, dude. 2 mice, 2 trackballs.
Oh my
yes,
God.
trackballs. You want the real Xi'an Scout experience.
Oh my god. Oh, you just like
Can you get like? I know they have those anime boob mouse pads. Do you think they have those anime boob trackballs?
Oh my god.
Just be like a real
Hi.
Xi'an.
So
My Upai gaming setup, just these big boobs. Nice.
Just
That
a
was
reminder,
the-
guys, if you
Yeah.
have any questions, make sure you type it in chat, ! question, click on the link that is provided, and we will get to those here shortly.
that was it for the
Yeah,
town hall.
for the town hall stuff. So a lot of interesting information, a lot of stuff that some people felt strongly one way or another, for sure.
People in the Star Citizen community feel strongly one way or another about something in a polarizing topic, but can't be civil.
Triggered.
Unheard of.
Hurricane Q&A is going to start today. Is going to be part
Supposed to
1,
be.
and part 2 should be on Friday.
Normally.
We're going to see a Bug Smashers later today, and 10 for the chairman with Tony Z and Chris Roberts. I thought we were supposed to get that like a week ago.
I don't know when that's coming
I'm
out.
not sure when that was. They were teasing
But
that a while ago, and then
It wasn't on the schedule, so I'm going to assume it's not this week, or else they would have probably mentioned it, right?
Also, something that's out on the dock that I'm disappointed we haven't seen or heard of yet is the schedule report.
I think it's getting updated this Friday because in the newsletter last week they said they were working out exactly what was going to
Right.
be.
So
And they were talking about more scheduling for Squadron 42 and 3.0.
right. So we didn't get it last week. My thing would be why, like, are they doing it last minute on Friday, or is it ready now and they're just updating it on Friday? And if that's the case, why wouldn't they just update it when it's ready?
This is a big point of frustration,
Mm-hmm.
is that this seems to be the one thing that people are rightfully frustrated about, because we had information, then there was no information, and it seemed deceitful, and then they're like, don't worry, we're going to give you information again, and then we got information, and everyone was happy.
Mm-hmm.
And then the information didn't quite jive with whatever, but that's people's problems, because they got to realize just because the schedule says that something's coming out at midnight does not mean that 12:01 it's going to be on the server.
Right.
But at the same time, I am frustrated because it's not like they don't know what they're working on, and it's not like they don't have a kind of idea internally. And that's the whole point of the schedule, is to just show us what's being worked on and what state it's at. I'm not asking for detail about it or anything like that, but if you say you're going to publish a schedule, then do it, and do it regularly, because people have expectations that that's a thing. Now, I'm not expecting NDA stuff to be on it, like that they're going to release a new ship or something like that if it's supposed to be a secret. But the things that we know about, right? Grabby hands, for example. Boom, Grabby hands, 50%. It's coming out, in a month or something like that. That's what we project. It will be out with 3.0. It will be out with 2.62, whatever. It shouldn't be that complicated. And again, I'm not there, so how do I know, right? But from my perspective, and where the frustration's coming from, is that we generally think we should see it. We're paying for it a little bit, like we're
Right.
funding the game, and it seems quite simple to put some stuff onto its spreadsheet and pump it out.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's my only thing. Obviously,
Right.
hopefully we see it by Friday. It would just be nice that they put things out just when they're ready to be put out. So that wraps it up for what we have for the news in the last week. We're going to jump over to questions. We have quite a few in here. Our first one from Mud. He asks, Orion versus Reclaimer, which will win if unleashed against each other?
Oh, that's a good one.
That's
I
the
think
great.
I think it's the Reclaimer, in my opinion.
No, because the Orion could just nuke it.
What do you mean? It's got the mining laser. Do you think the mining laser is a viable weapon?
We need it. It has to be a viable weapon.
They just start grinding each other.
That
So
would be
will it
beast.
grind?
It would grab, and then the other one starts shooting it with the laser.
I'm in love with both of those ships.
Yeah.
The Orion appeals to me more from a gameplay mechanic, but the Reclaimer I just think is so sort of like Nostromo kind of
Badass.
Geiger-esque, and
Yeah.
it just
Like
oh my god, I
claw.
love it.
anything that has a claw that can just grab something and just rip it apart. So good question.
As well.
Thank you for the.
Making it, I think, as
That
well,
was a
so
very exciting question.
Yeah, interesting to say the
Yeah.
least. Our next question is from Edison Trent, and it's: is anyone on the panel thinking of getting a GTX 1080 Ti? He says he's currently thinking of getting one to replace his MSI 280X OC, and this would be it. Now, I just wanted to say that for anybody who hasn't heard the news, they announced it yesterday. The 1080 Ti will be going on sale on starting Sunday on March 5th for $699 US. And
that's for the Founders Edition.
Their internal speed tests it's looking like it's 35% faster and has 35% more performance than the 1080, which when compared to their other internal stuff, the 980 to 980 Ti had a 25% disparity, and the 780 to 780 Ti had only a like a 5 to 15% disparity.
780 though was a great card.
Was a great card, yeah.
And still is.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I have running in my streaming rig, which doesn't get used for gaming. But yeah, no, that was my first real gaming card and was great. But yeah, I guess I'll start with Nubifier. Are you going to be grabbing one?
So I have a 1080 G1 already, and I am a sucker for shiny things. So I have, even though I say I'll never do it, I'm going to tell you guys I probably will buy a 1080, because usually what I do is someone will ask me to help them build a computer, and rather than charging the money or whatever, which I would never do, that's just crazy, I'll say I will give you the 1080 that I've lightly used for 6 months or whatever for close to the price that it's worth, less than, right? Yeah. And then I'll just go buy a new one and suck it up. So yeah, should you? If you had a 1080, I don't think that's a good investment, but I'm a hypocrite because I'm going to go buy one myself. Right? It all depends on how much disposable income and how much value you think you're going to get out of your time with that particular piece of hardware.
And do you have a specific brand that you'll be waiting for?
Okay. It's interesting. I'm normally EVGA because I really like their warranty thing. It's like lifetime. You could drop it in a toilet and send it to us and we'll give you a new one. That's really cool. But I went with the G1 because it was $100 less and faster than all the other ones. And so far I've been liking it. You know, the Gigabyte, not too bad. Not a bad experience for me anyways. So EVGA is my heart, but I can be bought, right? For $100.
Yeah. There you go.
I can be bought for $100.
$100.
There you go. So if you can find something that's $100 cheaper.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh my God, $100 for
Zotac 1080 Ti. Yeah.
Done.
The more I talk to Nubifier, the more ThriftBot likes him. So I've actually got 3 pages open from 3 different companies waiting to pre-order my 1080 Ti. And also I need to flog my 1080. I'm going to go on eBay and sell that old one. I cycle components regularly for my main rig. I won't buy just anything. Like I've got a 6700K, and I'm not going to upgrade the processor until there's a reason to. But I'm always at 100% of my GPU usage. I run at 1440p when I play games, and even if I just get more frames, even if they're frames which my computer discards, I still want more frames. I still don't. I still want to. I want the newest shiny graphics card. I just want it. It's for me. And if it's a great single card 4K solution as well, that's fucking amazing. As well as my Pimax. My Pimax can make use of it.
In his case, you can't have too much graphics card if you're running high res and high, multiple iterations of the same thing. So yeah, you're going to get good value out of that for sure.
Well, I'm not sure if I'm going to get good value, but
enjoyment.
It's important for me. Like it's an essential part of my life to be a video card snob. I'm very excited about there's 1080 Ti. I'm very excited.
And
if it's going to be a single 4K
specific
solution,
brand?
oh my God. No. I just don't. I don't want a reference blower. I want to make sure that that company at the time don't have high failure rates.
Yeah.
That's basically it. And I'll just go for the cheapest one that I think, well, the best value one.
Right.
Not
Yeah.
necessarily
I don't
cheapest.
think you're going to find 1080 Ti's in a cheap
in the bargain bin.
in a cheap setting.
No, but you'll get them. You'll get like 1080.
The local Poundland near to you.
You'll get 1080s for like from $500 going all the way up to $800, and getting one that's like $540 can be the best investment there. Not rather than the cheapest one, all the more expensive ones, because they are really overclockable, some of them, and you just have to do a bit of research and look at the coolers and look at like what thermal paste they're using. It doesn't necessarily even to do with their slightly overclocked boost clocks, because the new software for the overclocks for those cards does allow for a huge amount of headroom. So do your research.
Yeah, definitely.
And if you are considering buying one, wait for private reviewers to get their hands on them and test them.
Yes, and I'd say that with everything. Anything from Intel, NVIDIA, AMD, it doesn't matter who you are or how big of a fanboy you are, always wait for third-party benchmarks. Now, myself personally, I'm currently running a 980 Ti in my main machine, a 780 Ti in my secondary machine, and a 780 in my stream rank. And basically what happens is as I upgrade, everything sort of moves down one, right? So the 780 Ti would move into the stream, or would work as build into another computer for a LAN setup. The 980 Ti would move into the secondary computer. And then I think I'm going to grab a 1080 Ti. I don't know. I'm definitely not going to be ordering it next week just because I have everything going on with PAX and everything, and I want to make sure that's all figured out. And I also have a bunch of stream house purchases I need to make first. But it is something I'm very interested in.
Well, you're going to notice that jump for sure.
Yeah, from a 980 Ti.
Star Marine and that type of stuff, because I even noticed 980 Ti to 1080 was a significant jump. So you're going up basically a full generation.
Yeah,
that's going to be, you're going to be like,
it's a generation and a half. I mean that Ti.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's not the same chipset as a 1080, right?
Right.
It's the newer. So yeah, it's something I'm really, really excited to check out when I get the opportunity to. I generally I'm like bored. I don't want a stock blower. Now my 980 Ti NVIDIA sent to me, and so it was a stock blower, and I was happy to use it. But if I had the choice, I would obviously go with a different solution. Now my 780, which was the first graphics card I purchased, was the Poseidon edition from Asus. And what that is it has the ability to be both air or liquid cooled. Okay. So I may do something like that again. I'll have to see what the pricing is. I know that when I got that card was more expensive than 780 Ti's at the time because of that cooler.
Right.
So we'll have to see.
But
it is a card I'm definitely interested in.
Anyone that's thinking about getting a Ryzen or building a new PC or getting the 1080 Ti, Star Citizen is not optimized for anything yet. NVIDIA, AMD, and that sort of jazz don't have drivers for the card and won't have drivers for the card until at least far into beta. So just bear that in mind. There's no optimized drivers for Star Citizen yet, and the game is not going to be optimized until very close to release.
And
so
it won't make a difference.
If you're expecting a huge boost in frames or graphics quality,
to Star Citizen specifically,
then you are possibly going to be disappointed. Eventually, Star Citizen will support at least 16 cores or 16 threads and scale them all and all that sort of stuff, at least in the future. But at the moment, it's not going to have the optimization. You're not going to be able to make full use of this really expensive great tech. So just bear that in mind.
I get this question a lot in my chat from people. Hey, should I upgrade to this or should I upgrade to this? And my answer is always this. If it's for Star Citizen and Star Citizen only, and that's the only game you're playing, or that's it, hold off. Wait until Squadron 42 is released, and then you're going to see what works the best, and you can sort of make your decision then. Not only then, prices will have been dropped at least a little bit by then on at least some of the components. If, however, you're doing this for an overall gaming thing and you have a bunch of games on Steam or from Blizzard or whatever, and you're going to see those improvements right away, then yes, definitely go and check that stuff out. Remember that this is this technology, as always, is always improving, right? So what was good, like I just got my 980 Ti I guess it's a year ago now, right? So I got it a year ago, and now it's like we're at the 1080 Ti, and the differences in between the two, I imagine, are going to be fairly large. You look at the CPUs that I have. I'm running a 4790K, which is from a couple years ago, and what they have now is starting to become, okay, now it's worth it to switch over, not just for Star Citizen, but for just all my processes in general. So that's sort of the question that I always get people to ask themselves. If it's something that everything else runs fine, and you're just worried about your performance in Star Citizen, hold off. If it's something that you want to improve the performance of your overall machine, and you're not happy with how anything runs, then yeah, that now may be a good time to upgrade.
If you've got a fuck ton of money.
Yeah.
Woo! Money! I'm going to buy my new computer with a gold bar. Bam! To go with my completionist pack, mother truckers.
Speaking of which,
why not? Oh God.
Asaurus, $15,000.
Oh,
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, no, I sent out a tweet last week. We hit it. I was $5 away, so I'm like, we're gonna do a skin giveaway right now.
Nice.
So
I
we did
love
that.
the fact that when you meet people that don't know about Star Citizen, you can go, I've spent 15,000.
Well, actually,
game.
well, you know what's really funny? Somebody was, I was talking to someone just last night, actually, and they were talking about H1Z1 and how their account was worth like $5,000 or $6,000 because of some limited edition skins and stuff. Like, oh, that's nice. and so we got in this sort of discussion or whatever about that. Now, obviously, no, you don't need to do that. Nobody needs to go out there and spend that kind of money. All that money, and you shouldn't. That money is spent on a lot of giveaways and promotional stuff for my channel because this is my job.
Very specific conversations. It does allow you to pull out your e-pin.
If I wanted to, yeah.
Spider.
Yeah. If someone's like, oh well, they can. If someone came up to you and was like, yo, I have concierge. I'm like, yeah, I have it 15 times over.
15 concierges.
Yeah, because in certain situations, if you went into a pub and said that to some people, you'd see that eye scream of what the fuck?
Yeah, what is wrong with you?
Yeah. But some situations, it's very much so like, yeah, badger on that.
Yeah, and it is the giveaways too, right? Like my wife saw I think I'm up to 6,000 because of all the giveaways. And my wife's like, what the? I'm like, no. Please, for the love of Christ, let me explain what that means.
Well, and some people are saying, okay, well, not only that, I also have another account that I don't count the money towards that, which is a Super Hornet, which is my guest account. Super Hornet game package with Squadron 42.
My
But
guest account.
they-
Oh my fuck.
They, well, yeah, for when guests come over and we do split screen.
Yeah.
Not everybody owns the game.
A guest ship.
You can use the lowly Super Hornet on the other computer. So people are asking what assets I still have, and I haven't done the math on this. So if somebody wants to do the math in chat, that would be fantastic. I have a Super Hornet. I have a Mustang Omega, which doesn't count towards that. I have a Gladius, which doesn't count towards that because that was a referral bonus. So those are the 3 ships that I own that are not Drake ships. Then I have 8 Dragonflies. I have a Cutlass Blue, a Cutlass Red, a Cutlass Black. I have a Herald, a Buccaneer, and the Pirate Caterpillar. That's it.
Nice.
Everything else has been given away.
You seem to have like a really good spectrum of ship there.
Yeah. So
you want me to do mine? It's easy.
Sure.
Carrack, Caterpillar. I have a Cutlass Black, which is an upgrade from the Gladius for the referral thing. Saber, Vanguard, Hoplite. And then probably like a bike. I'll Malta bike or something like that. But that's my fleet. So if my wife's listening, it's not so bad.
Has an 890 jump as well.
Oh.
Nubifire's lying. I know he has.
Can we mute him? She doesn't need to know that.
It's at least $600.
She
It's
doesn't.
at least $600.
At least.
At least.
See this? I'm changing colors, you bastard.
But yeah, he's going all red. So I mean, I definitely have a decent fleet, but it's not like it's a $15,000 fleet by any stretch of the imagination.
Board Gamer's got an 890. While we're on the
Yeah.
subject of blading people,
Yeah, but Board
Yeah.
Gamer doesn't have to
And all
answer
the
to
girlfriends that I
anyone.
don't have are really pissed off with me.
Yeah, right.
oh, this is Nubifire.
She's not pissed off at me. She's pissed off at you, mate. She likes me for telling the truth.
All right, let's move on. Our questions here. Our next one's from Live Acoustic, and he asks, "Are any of you planning on trying out Amazon Lumberyard, the game engine, playing around with it on stream or in a video? I hear it's free and includes some built-in demos and tutorials."
So during the podcast, I've actually been watching the Amazon Lumberyard at GDC live stream, and I will consider getting into doing some trying to port stuff over from Star Citizen, trying to mess around with Lumberyard, and see how easy it is for some like a noob like me to get into it. I think it's going to be super powerful. I think it's going to be really, really interesting, that Lumberyard engine. And from what I've seen at the GDC stuff, it is relatively easy to get into. So maybe.
I probably won't touch it. I want to be an end user. I want to enjoy playing rather than messing with it.
Right.
I'm sure it would be neat to see it, like how it works and everything. But no, I can't see myself getting too in depth with it. I'm already having a hard time as it is keeping up with content creation and work and my personal life. So, to me, that's a big commitment.
Yeah, and for me, it's not something I'm super interested in doing, just because, yeah, CIG uses it, but they have so much other custom stuff that they're going to be using that, I mean, while it's neat, I don't think it's not really something I get into,
So-
and I don't really find.
For me, I want a working knowledge of it from a modding point of view, because I'm
Right.
at least preparing my brain for possible Star Citizen mods
Oh,
using that
yeah,
engine.
that's a good idea
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, my love though, my hope is that Torellian and Grey-Headed Gamer pick it up and love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Gray starts doing YouTube videos again. Please, Gray, I love you.
Yeah.
Do more YouTube videos again. Your YouTube stuff was great. Lumberyard may be a gateway to that again. And Torellian, I mean, that man.
Are you trying to say you want to make Grey-Headed Gamer great again?
Oh my god. He's great.
I know,
anyway.
he is awesome.
I just-
He's awesome. I love Gray.
Greater?
Greater.
I'm upset
Greater?
that he doesn't do YouTube anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I want him to
Make his YouTube great again. Is maybe more appropriate.
Make Star Citizen Island great again.
Yeah.
And Torellian, I think Torellian is going to be an incredibly talented animator, director,
Director.
whatever the hell he's going to do with the level creation or game creation, stuff like that. He is. You can see from his origins of when he started doing stuff with CryEngine to now how much he's learnt in such a short period of time is insanity. Like that boy's got skills. So I'm very much looking forward to them picking that up. So everyone should get into Lumberyard and tell me if it's any good.
Natashi had it right. Greater-headed gamer.
Greater-headed gamer, yeah. The next question's from Crusade AK, and he says, "When do you think the Idris P will be on sale again? And what are your opinions on it as a high-value cargo hauler?"
Not optimized for cargo. I know it can carry a lot, but I don't think it would be a cost-effective use of your time.
I think it's a good overall ship. Like, if you think of what else is a good overall ship? Like the Avenger or the Cutlass or an
Cutlass,
Aurora
definitely.
or a Constellation. All of these ships, I think, are decent overall ships, and I think the Idris is that as well. I think the Idris is the big, good overall ship.
It makes more sense than the Polaris for sure. If you're going to move stuff with it, the nice thing is you can move a lot of stuff. But I would go and tell you that you could do that, but you could probably just go get a Hull D and eclipse the amount of cargo that you can put in an Idris. And then all you would need to do is make sure that you had enough security to cover it, and you could potentially make more money. If you're trying to solo a cargo ship, then the fact that the Idris is a warship would protect your cargo better.
Can't I just turn my PvP and PvE?
Yeah, just turn slider
to zero,
off.
so
Oh,
that I
so
don't get
salty.
attacked by pirates.
So salty.
Like, and then I can just add more thrusters to my ship and jettison my cargo, so I can dart around at the speed of light.
Trolling confirmed by Board Gamer. Fucking guy.
Fucking hell.
No, it's
Yeah.
an interesting question, but again, we need to see what they're, how that ship, how expensive it is to run the ship, how expensive it is to crew the ship. It also depends on what your org is like. If you already have an integral security for it, then it would be a waste of time, because you could, like I said, go get a cargo specific ship and potentially outperform it. So there's a lot of variables there that
Yeah.
that
Like I
need to
said,
be-
I think it's a good overall ship for a lot of players that are playing together. And you want to do different stuff together and whatever. But I don't think it's a very specific anything ship. Our next question from Grizzled is, what do you think of slaving man turrets? Like on a freelancer for solar players, or on the Constellation, or sorry, on the the Constellation, or a Cutlass, or whatever,
Or a Hurricane.
or Hurricane.
Well, even a Retaliator, like it's got 7 turrets and no guns for the pilot, for example, right?
Or on an Idris, or a Javelin.
Oh, can you
Flaming all
imagine?
the turrets
Can you
forward.
imagine? One guy sitting in this big ship. Pew pew.
Yeah. But
Or
what are
Gamer
your
Go
thoughts on
11
that?
capitalizing. Yeah. No?
So I want the ability in some situations to slave turrets. I want some ability to have AI modules that are not NPCs, but are AI modules for some turrets.
Right, that are
it
like
needs to be-
computer programmed.
Yeah, that literally you tell that AI what it's targeting, and it targets it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that sort of stuff. So I do also think that some ships, there needs to be a balance for it from a gameplay point of view. That you might be able to slave some turrets, but there are concessions that you have to make because of it. Or you need a specific plug, or you need a specific turret, or you need a specific slot, or you need specific ports, and that sort of stuff. So yes, I think that it should be available for lots of ships. Maybe not every ship, maybe not in every circumstance. Like, you probably don't want to see a size 7 weapon appearing on the Hurricane, because that's insanity. That's like twice the length of the ship, I think.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, broken. Yeah. That would be broken. And that would be too much. I like the idea of anything. I do like the idea of the flash fire mounts, that they're specific. I'm a little bit confused with the they're basically rewriting the document by launching that ship with a size 7. They had to make it a size 7 turret to hold the 3 guns.
4 size 3s,
Yeah, 4 size 3s, etc., etc. But then they're now counteracting what they said earlier, like a year ago, saying that a size 7 turret will hold a size 7 gun, but not in this case. And I know, Board Gamer, you said it, that there will be instances where this does and doesn't work, which is good, but that's also confusing as hell. It's going to confuse an already kind of confusing system, unless you get like some time with it and you get to understand where it is. So do I think that all ships should be able to slave? Yes. I do think that I'm going to contradict myself. If you do it, you should have to buy a specialty mount, and the specialty mount should have a cost, because you're getting something out of it. You're getting the ability to have 2 people in 2 different ships instead of having 2 people in 1 ship to do the same job. And that in itself is more powerful. So I actually think that the Super Hornet makes sense, because it's a ball turret and you should be able to slave it. But if you have a man turret, there should be a guy in it, unless like Board Gamers says,
or you switch it out
Right.
with a ball turret that goes in there and maybe holds smaller or less or something.
For some ships, the second seat isn't necessarily for the turret. So for Super Hornet, that second seat isn't for the turret gunner. That's just for someone else they can use the turret, but they can also use the systems there. Like, you can put that turret mount in.
Okay, Gladiator.
Gladiator's a good example, actually. Yes, right. That's should you be able to, because that
man's
should be a 2-man
turret.
ship.
The guy is in it.
That should be a 2-man ship, effectively.
And right now, I think I think they've let you slave it for Arena Commander, because there's no way to get into the
there's no
competitive.
Yeah,
right. And it's the same thing with the Vanguard. The Vanguard is a great ship by itself. It has a turret, and I don't miss it because I've never actually flown it with some guy in the turret. I think that ship is flyable as it is.
I definitely think all of those ships, all those fighters and smaller ships, should definitely be able to be slaved.
Yeah.
But again, as you said, specialty mounts possibly, plugs, pipes, power, all that sort of stuff needs to be considered there. Because you don't want, if you're not having that extra crewman, you're losing something, and you should be. But you should be able to still fly that ship at a reasonable efficiency with one person. If you, that makes sense. It just makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so we still have a bunch of questions and not a ton of time. So we're going to try and burn through these questions as quickly as possible here. So let's not divert too much. All right, so Elwook says, how do you think all this ongoing rebalancing affects the release of Squadron 42? Level design and AI design can't really get locked down until the flight combat balancing is stable, can it?
Yes and no. I mean, that's a stupid answer, but the balance, I'm not expecting Squadron 42 tomorrow anyways.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's so critical right now.
But I think the heart of that question is, can you release the single-player game with the ongoing rebalancing that's going to be happening in Star Citizen? Which would foreseeably in the future take still quite a while, and I think would go on into the life of the game.
Yes. So I mean, as long as you're playing the game and it's balanced, so you're not going to be fighting other players in Squadron 42. So whoever playtests that game, they're going to say Vandal are too strong or Vandal are not strong enough, and that I think that Squadron 42 will get balanced. That balance doesn't necessarily have to transfer over. It would be really cool if it does, but I don't see that Squadron 42 is going to hold up the persistent universe, if that's kind of where you're going with that question.
Yeah, so that's what my response is as well. I don't think that those are two peas in the same pot. I think there are some things that can transfer over and whatever, but I think Squadron 42 for the sake of gameplay will be what it is and won't necessarily be the same. Like a great example of that is I always like to use World of Warcraft as a reference. World of Warcraft against PvE is a lot different than World of Warcraft against other players. And so I mean it's gonna be interesting on how they do that sort of together, but I don't think that it needs to necessarily rely on that PvP balance.
It's not going to take them long at all. It's not going to take them long at all to implement and change some of the stats in game. They go, oh, let's quickly play Squadron 42 all the way through. Everyone in the studio can do it today. And they go, oh, we've got some problems with the speeds. Let's adjust those figures. We're done. Boom. Out the door. Game's done.
But it's already in the game anyways because you've got Vandal Swarm co-op. The hit points aren't the same as the same ship, the Glaive, in the persistent universe. The player-owned ship isn't the same hit points. So we already basically have what the question was talking about, which is an imbalance within the game itself for a reason.
Yeah.
Hey.
Our next question is from Yoko Rose. In Batgirl's interview with Brian Chambers, he let slip that we will be getting patch before 3.0. What do you feel the patch could be or have in it? No idea.
Board Gamer has a video on this.
Yeah, I didn't talk much about so when they slip by saying 2.7, don't know if it's an actual
internal
slip,
thing.
They could still just be referring to 3.0 as 2.7. They have talked about, we know there's going to be 2.2.6, 2.6.2. There's possibly going to be a 2.7. I mean, that just makes fucking sense for them to be a 2.7. So every time I hear Todd Pappy or Brian Chambers make a slip, I just assume talking about 2.7, but that might not be correct. So I don't want to put too many of my own assumptions in videos, except for, when I do videos.
Lol. I don't want to put assumptions in, except for when I put assumptions in.
It makes sense that they're going to have a 2.7 and that that's going to have some of the features of 3. That just makes sense to me.
Until we see a schedule report, it's all bullshit.
Yeah, that's a good point. It is all bullshit until then.
Our next question is from Ray Fighter. You guys talked about Spectrum versus Discord, TeamSpeak, and other VoIP applications. People often dismiss any VoIP solution inside Star Citizen, saying my team will use Discord anyway. Do you think it's possible that Star Citizen will require your mic take over it and block other apps? Well, I mean, there's a way around that anyways.
No. Yeah.
You could just use your phone, right? Or I have another computer. I could just use my other computer. While the game is running. I don't think that would be a good idea anyways, because if people want to use that, they should be able to.
Go mental.
They just piss people off.
Angry. Like, oh, I can't use Skype. I can't have Skype on my computer while playing Star Citizen. Fuck you, CIG. I didn't mean that.
That wouldn't happen.
But no, I don't think that would happen either. But I think that the reason that people are going to use I use Discord over using in-game VoIP all the time, and I prefer using it for a lot of reasons. But if there's a way to do both and have both, then why not? And that's sort of the thing, right? So this is something that is going to be able to be integrated inside and outside of the game, which hasn't been done. And so the ability that you'll be able to do things like communicate with other ships and other stuff outside of your org or outside of the people that you're playing with, I think is important. But being able to block those broadcasts and stuff as well is also equally important, right?
Yeah.
So
I can see myself using 2 different push-to-talks, one with my org and one in the game, because I do think, just like you said, there are reasons that you're going to want to be able to use Spectrum in-game. And it's not just immersion, it's actual like function that you'll need to be able to speak with people in-game.
Yeah, actually having function encourages people to use it. So,
right.
So we'll have to wait and see exactly how they implement that, but I am excited.
Yeah.
Hopeful.
So, I mean, everything that they've been doing seems really cool and would give you the functionality of Discord, but also inside Star Citizen. So that would give it that one up over that. Our next question from One Sovereign says, with more details coming about stuff like the room system, how do you think they should strike a balance between realism and simplicity or accessibility? Personally, I think the larger the ship, the more okay it is, because going to a large ship, you're basically signing up for more advanced gameplay. So I'm not quite sure what he's getting at with this question.
Didn't really sound like a question.
It
Let's move on.
didn't really sound like a question. So try and keep it as questions, guys. Please and thanks.
Question mark.
I can't have to work out what question you're asking.
Yeah.
There's no question mark in there.
The
I don't
Hurricane-
know what's going on.
The Hurricane shows both the quantum drive and the jump drive. Does the Saber have a jump drive? If not, why get the upgrade to a possible scout fighter?
Yeah, as both.
Yeah.
They both have
As both.
Yeah. They're
The
different
only thing
ships.
it's limiting is snub fighters are really the only ones that are limited like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the 85X does have a jump.
Jump.
drive.
It doesn't.
Quantum.
Quantum
No
drive, it
jump
doesn't
drive.
have a jump drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, and so with that, why would you pick that? Well, if you decided you wanted more weapons, less shields. As we saw with the concept shell, the ship isn't that much larger. It doesn't look that much larger than, say, a Saber or a Hornet.
No.
It looks...
It's actually 2 meters smaller.
Okay, there you go. So you just have to weigh the pros and cons of each ship and then decide what you want to go with from there.
You want to die a lot.
Yeah.
That's like if you're in a hurricane, would you like to die a lot?
There is no ship that warranted lifetime insurance more than the Hurricane.
Right.
Yeah.
It's paper mache. It's so...
Maybe the Dragonfly. But I think it'll be... I think the Dragonfly is just so cheap to replace.
No.
Yeah, I think it's
You would get shot and the dragonfly would be fine.
Yeah.
You're just going to get shot off of it.
You just get... and take off.
Yeah.
Stealth DJ asks, would an unladen Hull D not be mega fast? Nope.
No, it would not be mega fast.
All right.
In real
next.
life, yes. In the game, no. They've already just said that.
L. Wook says, wouldn't the customers of a freighter be pretty pissed if you self-destruct whenever pirates arrive? Now you have no
they
rep,
would be.
and wouldn't insurers rather be a chance... There'd be a chance of recovering ships from the criminals as opposed to blowing it to bits. Void cargo insurance on self-destruct. I mean, we don't know anything about the insurance mechanic, really. So that's a question that we can't really answer.
They
But-
want
At this
to
point.
discourage people blowing themselves up.
Yeah.
Like,
But they just said on that town hall that if you blow yourself up, it's not just going to be like, let's have a party and then like a big explosion. It's going to cost you. Self-destruct will cost the player. So if you're trying to do it to deny if you're doing it to be a dick to deny gameplay, it's going to cost you. It won't be worth it. You might as well just let Source steal all your cargo and go on your way, because it's going to cost you more than doing that. So be smarter. Bring something to protect your stuff, and you won't have to blow yourself
They're
up.
going to do the things that promote more gameplay.
Team building, right. It's the whole point of the game is to team build.
Seabach asks, should interdiction be based on mass, where it is harder for a ship with less mass to interdict one with more?
No, it will be based on systems and modules and stuff.
Yeah.
Probably.
I
They've
imagine
talked
is how
about-
they're going to do that.
Yeah, like distortion mechanics, shields, power.
they've
Your
talked about,
signatures,
like,
things like that.
Right.
They've talked about the actual interdiction stuff pulling you out of warp as you pass through its bubble. So I suppose in a larger ship, maybe you're more likely to pass through the bubble. But I suppose that's going to be very fractional
Yeah.
largeness.
We'll have to see how they implement that. But
There might be
for
ways
us,
to-
it's hard for us to say it should be this way when we haven't seen how they're
speculation confirmed.
Yeah.
It's quite
definitely.
possible that the interdiction will be done on a signal, so that the edge of that interdiction, like range, it's weaker, and that you can protect your quantum drive from certain levels of interdiction, like with modules and with assets and with armor and shit. So it's quite possible that that will be a mechanic. Because I was looking at interdiction again the other day and thinking, how could they flesh this out as a mechanic? I think that might be a thing. Maybe. Someone tell me! Someone tell me!
Don't know. Our next question is from Grizzled. He says, a recent poll tells that 75%, I don't know what this poll is, I don't have a source of it, but a recent poll says that 75% of the players will play solo only or mainly. Do you know of these figures? Nope. And what does that mean for the multiplayer versus solo play in the persistent universe? I think that that's how people play now, but I think that when all the mechanics are in, you may see that start to be different. I mean, there's games out there now that are large multiplayer games. Let's go back to WoW, where people can play solo for the majority or the most part, if that's what they want to do. But I think that the people who are going to get the most out of the game are going to be wanting to play multi, for sure. And I mean, that's sort of the draw of the game. If you didn't want that, then you'd be playing Squadron 42 or be playing solo arenas.
Right. And that's fine. But the point of the game isn't to box yourself up into a small piece of space and grind rocks. I mean, you can, but eventually I will come by and visit you.
Yeah.
I've got my PvP slider. Oh no!
PvP slider.
Okay, well, our next question's from Lillian, and she says, I've followed this project since Kickstarter and back past Concierge. A big part of that was CIG pitched realism, sim, and physics. And physics, not a dirty word. If this game is going to be going mass appeal, for example, Battlefield 1 is a mass appeal game, isn't that a huge departure from this project meant to be an indie space game with real in-depth gameplay?
They're not mutually exclusive.
They're not. Yeah, number one, they're not mutually exclusive. Number two, you wouldn't be getting a game as big or as in-depth or with the amount of detail that it has if it didn't have that mass appeal to it as well.
There are two ends of that spectrum. There's Battlefield and Call of Duty, and there's Hellion. Okay,
Yeah.
There's the big spectrum of super high quality physics and all that sort of jazz. Hellion, I'm sure, is great, but it's far too fiddly for me to want to do any videos.
I would use
on
DCS as a far
Real simulator.
DCS is the airplane
good,
simulator.
yeah.
Hardcore.
You
Like
actually have to go turn on the switch, and if you screw up and you don't ask for taxi, then you get in, like, you're basically getting shit from the control tower.
They can have all of the features that they have pitched in the game, and they can have it being close to a wide appeal product. But it would be wide appeal based on it being good, rather than it being like it's built to be popular in the style of Call of Duty and Battlefield, because they are instant gratification games. And Star Citizen just needs some elements of instant gratification for those players that are looking for that. But that will be like a lighter, that'll be Star Citizen Light. Whereas the depth and richness of the gameplay is what I'm after. A full cheesy experience and some wine.
So you can balance, you can compromise. That's a good word. Compromise some realism for the greater good of enjoyable gameplay, and that's, I think, what the idea of the big ships are limited in speed, not realistic, but for the benefit of gameplay, for a real potential gameplay. That's a decision that's been made. And again, this is not, it's a Chris Roberts game. You can go back and look at all of the other games, and, Wing Commander, obviously not a simulator, but it had a very defined space feel. And all of his other games are like that too. And this one should be no different. It's just bigger, more beautiful, and more expensive, apparently.
Something I'm going to quote from Dean Hall from the DayZ project was that they sort of faced the same thing, right? They wanted it to be a simulator. It was based on a military simulator and stuff like that. Yeah. But one of the things that he said was, we're going for authenticity, not necessarily realism. Because authenticity where it still feels really good. And yeah, we get a lot of things like the thrusters and stuff like that are actually working in game for that sim mechanic, for some of those physics. Being able to turn off and go into decoupled and stuff like that. So yeah, we have that stuff, but for the sake of gameplay and stuff as well, we also want it to be fun. And one of my major arguments would be, if it didn't have that stuff, then you wouldn't have, number one, the scope of the project that it is now. You wouldn't have the player base that this could potentially have, or even has now, because people wouldn't find it necessarily fun. I think that it's just, if it was hardcore sim, it would just be too narrow, and it wouldn't have the backing that it has.
And permadeath is a good example of that too, because permadeath, if you were to do it the way it's supposed to be done in real life, you would die and you'd be in character loading. So now we have a series of like 9 lives example, like a stepping stone towards death. So if you have a problem with the way that they're approaching ship flight mechanics and top speed, you should really be worried about permadeath. Right? Because if you're straight up hardcore, I must have it real.
That's a good point. That's a good point. No, because
lose everything.
I'm not in the future.
Right.
I'm not in the future.
Gone.
In a spaceship. I am controlling some guy with a mouse and keyboard. That's not realistic enough. I want to be breathing space and die.
Yeah. No, you can go to that intensity, but let's move on. Our next question. So we know from Lillian again. So we know cargo ships will go slower than fighters. Do you think big combat ships like the Idris and Javelin should go faster than cargo ships?
No. Oh well, mass. If it's good for
the Polaris, maybe.
Yeah, but the Polaris is quite small compared to a Hull D.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a fast Corvette.
Yes.
I suspect the
in relativity to other large ships, I don't think it's going to be as fast as like a Super Hornet.
No. Yeah, okay, fair point. But I do suspect that there will be things that you could use, like for an Idris P, for example. I do suspect that you could fit it to be a relatively fast Idris P, and fast as a capital ship, but not fast when compared to smaller ships.
Mm-hmm.
So I do suspect there will be room for change and customization and stuff, just not like, I'm in a super fast racing Idris.
No, and not 10 kilometers an hour either. Like it has to be maneuverable and everything, but it has to be strategic. Like it's not going to be doing circles around M50s just because it has big engines.
It's hard to say because that's one of those things that it just needs to be figured out with balance, right? It needs to figure out where it fits and sits and feels right? It needs to feel right. It doesn't necessarily need to be like, oh, it's going to be 10 meters per second faster than this ship, and 50. It needs to fit in where they envision how that ship is used and what its functions are. So it's hard to say if it's going to go faster than cargo ships. What cargo ships exactly? Are you talking about the Hull E? Are you talking about the Hull B, the Hull D? Right? Mm-hmm. Or are you talking about something that has like it really depends on the size of those ships, I think. So I would say as the ships get larger, they get slower overall, but you also see that disparity with single-seater ships, right? The difference between a 300 series, a 350R, and a Hornet, the speed difference is different because they sort of have different roles and what it is that they do. So I imagine they're going to do the same thing with the larger ships as well. Citizen Shenanigans asks, if IFCS is damaged or hacked or turned off, will ships be able to thrust past safe levels? I don't think so.
No.
That would be an exploit. Unlikely. They wouldn't let you do that. Because then everyone would just do it.
If IFCS was shut off, it would just turn off your engines, I would imagine.
I do suspect there will be ways of using like the tweak system and like the overclocking system. Thank you.
Yeah.
To improve your thrusters, to improve your engines slightly beyond the normal range as like its own mechanic, but nothing to hack them out of safeties. See what I mean? They want to have like small percentage increases in those items, I'm assuming, but it's annoying that they have those safeties there for some of the stuff, I suppose. Like, why don't we just turn the safeties off?
Right.
Yeah. Next question from Lillian again. With CIG's comments on range of ships mattering, so where you fly might put you beyond range of snub fighters, etc., do you think Italy or Vanguard, both of which are long range, would be better escorts, assuming the turret rework comes up good? Yeah, I mean, that's what their role is, right? Is long range escort ships. So, yeah, I do.
But if you had like something like Elite Dangerous where you got the fuel rats, you know, there will be options. Even if you wanted to escort in a Saber, let's say, you would have to fuel more frequently, and that would be your penalty for not bringing a Vanguard, because that's a game mechanic.
But you would have the benefit
refuel.
of being harder to hit, moving around. So you're going to have to weigh your pros and cons of those ships when those systems are in.
Right.
Our next question is from Jack Assery. Going back to the realism versus gameplay balance, I've seen people in Hellion doing 1+ hour travel times. Obviously, Star Citizen will have jump points and things like that, but what do you think about lengthy travel times? I don't want to take all day to get to a mining destination, but I also don't want to be across the galaxy in a few minutes. So
they actually talked about this on Spectrum.
Yeah.
I did a video on it today. They want to balance the fun with distance traveled and choice of route. There's going to be loads of points of interest there. The journey is as important as the destination in some situations. You're going to be finding stuff. You're going to be getting pulled out by pirates if you're jumpy driviness or quantum drive. There's going to be distress signals. There's going to be a lot going on, and you're going to want to travel, but the travel times are not going to be absurd.
I think it depends on where you're traveling from to, right? So, for example, right now, to give you an example of the travel times we have now, we are at a single planet, right? And we can go to the moons and all of that stuff. And right now it's a couple seconds in between that stuff. The distance from one planet to a moon to the distance from one planet to another planet is quite significant. Now, that being said, we have those jump points and stuff. You're not going to be quantum traveling from one solar system to another solar system. You're going to have to take jump points. I mean, you could. It just would take an unrealistic amount of time. That being said, I think that they're going to have to try and find a balance for it. We do have things like the sim pods and stuff like that. They want to create gameplay while you're traveling as well, from my understanding. So having something take 10 minutes to go from one place to another isn't unreasonable, but it also isn't an hour to get somewhere. You know what I mean?
Don't want an hour to get somewhere, that's hell.
But like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, enough for a round of Star Marine, or to go and do something else, or whatever it is that you want to do on your ship. You know, some managing of stuff, I think isn't a bad idea.
And even the ICC mission, there's one jump point that's like deliberately, like, you know, it's long. It's like 30 seconds, and it feels like a long time. But I think that's fine. But you're right. Having something if you're going across the universe, then it should take a couple hours. But if you're only going through one little system, then it doesn't make sense to have, you know, a person waiting for 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. So again, it's all going to be balanced, and we don't even have the system yet. So let's see what they give us and then give feedback rather than worrying too much about it right now, because they may just stumble upon what feels right anyways.
I don't know. I need to worry about it and bitch about it now, because otherwise what will I do with my day?
Our next question is from Light Brigade. Do you know... Okay, so this is something we kind of answered during the podcast, so I'll go over this real quickly. Do you know if there will be a scheduled report update for 262 and when they might start publishing it, or do you think there won't be one until 2723? They will be publishing that on Friday, and we'll find out what it is on Friday. Next question. Winlord says there's been very many arguments about mouse control is OP in some people's perception. People saying that it ruins the game. When I play mixed mouse and keyboard or dual joysticks, I mix mouse and keyboard or dual joysticks. I'm new to joysticks, so I'm still learning. What would you do to balance this? Would you remove interactive altogether? No. Personally, I think all balance will be improved with time. I also play with mouse and no gimbals. So this goes back to what I said before. Everybody has a mouse and keyboard. They're not going to be removing interactive mode. It's just not going to happen. Anybody who's hoping for that, it's not going to happen. Period. That being said, I think that like you said in your question, and even I started to notice this when I was using a HOTAS a few years ago, was that you eventually will get better and used to it. Right now, most games are played with a mouse and keyboard. If you play most games with a controller, you're going to be probably better with a controller, or feel like you're better with a controller than you are with a mouse and keyboard. So it's just a matter of practice. I don't think they're going to be removing interactive. I think that if you feel that it's better, then play with mouse and keyboard. If you are playing for the competitive aspect of things and you feel that it's a better route to go, then my suggestion is play smarter, not harder. Play with that mouse and keyboard. If you think that you are more into the simulation of things and you like the idea of shooting with a joystick or playing with a joystick, play like that and just learn over time and get better with it. Our next question is from Frisky, that's Sly Dingo, and they're asking, how will joystick's rudders go from flying to foot? You don't hear people talking about it, nor do you see people using joysticks in Star Marine.
What?
I don't know. Not really a question.
Well, I mean, I have 2 joysticks, and I have a keyboard and mouse. Because I'm an FPS player, I play FPS with keyboard and mouse.
Yeah.
And then when I get into the ship and I hit F, then I just switch over to the joystick.
Yeah, you don't have to. You can switch either or. Like I have my Xbox One controller plugged in. I can pick it up and play with it.
Joysticks.
Right away. No, I don't think anybody would.
No.
Oh my god.
Major Samwise asks, does Star Citizen, including Star Marine, etc., have an anti-cheat in place? Not right now, and nor should it right now.
No, it's alpha.
Yeah, this is a good time for them to see what exactly things are coming in, absorb as much data as possible, and then figure out what it is their vulnerabilities are, and then build an anti-cheat or implement an anti-cheat that exists that combats those issues. Chex86 asks, if the whole series... okay, I don't know if this makes sense. If the whole series are slugs... what are some ways they could make it worth it for pirates to chase freelancer merchantmans? Besides the fact they will be likely carrying more valuable merchandise. Okay, so if the whole series are slow, what are some ways that could make it worth it for pirates to chase freelancers or merchantmans? Besides the fact that they'll be carrying more valuable merchandise. Well, no, that's your answer. You answered it all your own.
Yeah, and also don't forget, if you go after a whole series. And you
remember scanning mechanics as well.
You're gonna have to figure out how to get that cargo off that ship, or you're gonna have to kill everybody on board and steal the ship, and then you're gonna be a slug. So
yeah.
It's kind of like if you go after a freelancer and with something like a Cutlass Black, you know that you'll be able to take the cargo and be manageable. You would never go after a Hull C. A Hull D with a small organization. So it would scale appropriately. You have to have those small targets for people that are small orgs, and then the big targets, leave those for the big guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully that makes
No, it definitely makes sense. And the fact that they'll be carrying possibly more valuable merchandise is one of those reasons they would go after it. DevVT asks, not sure if you already discussed it or not, but any comments on recent netcode testing results video and the apparent worsening of movement jumping lag with 261. I haven't seen it. It's felt like it's actually gotten better to me, but at the same time, we have less players playing currently.
Yeah.
So I can't really comment this. I haven't seen this video. I can just go by my own personal experience and say that it feels a lot better overall. Not perfect yet, but still feels better.
There's 2 things though. Didn't we got a new netcode by getting we got multi-region servers, but at the same time we also changed hardware. So I mean, it makes.
And they also changed, like, not only did they change the hardware, the physical locations of the servers, and they changed some of the code as well. So
it's not as simple as saying it's better or worse, because it's fundamentally changed a lot. So it's more difficult to compare.
Would be if you played 2.6 and you play 2.6.1 now, irrefutably, it is a much better experience if you jump in.
Yes,
it is indeed.
Yeah, but it's not perfect.
It's still not perfect.
It's definitely perfect.
It's still far from perfect, but it is leaps and bounds better than 2.6.0 was.
Correct.
The One Sovereign asks, what do you think will be the best things for mass stacking? For example, there's only so many fighters that can effectively engage at once. Is there, though? But if you have a ton of missile boats instead, you could just drown the enemy in missiles. Okay? And there's not really a cap to how many would work at once, I think. Well, I think that, there shouldn't be a cap. with how many. That's what alpha striking is for, and things like that. I think that that's a downside of using missiles. Is if you had everybody using missiles, and you were able to drop your target, then they're all going to go after that flare or chaff or whatever it is that you did to drop your target, and that's going to be a waste. Likewise, for everybody to hit you with weapons, they all need to have their aiming on point and be able to keep up with your maneuvering and stuff like that. So I don't think that there will be a limit on mass stacking. Basically, however many ships you can fit in an area. Yeah, just
the missiles are going to cost ridiculous. Like if
you're how big the org is.
Yeah, so if you're going to go after a ship that's worth 10,000 credits and you're going to fire $100,000 worth of missiles at it, well, that's not really good use to your time. You might as well go play another game at that point.
Yeah. So, I mean, the balance, and that's exactly where that balance is, right? Is that payoff for it. So maybe 50 ships, single-seater fighters, alpha striking something like a Idris makes sense, but 10 Idrises shooting at one Hornet doesn't make sense, right? No. You know what I mean? I mean, you could, but
alpha striking does require some form of stealth, and sneaking up on an Idris. If you turned it, I suppose you could. I suppose
you could all quantum in and have a scout.
Possibly, but you could have maybe done sabotage on the ship, I suppose. Someone could have snuck on.
There's a lot of gameplay opportunities for that, but I don't think there should be a limit for mass stacking, with the exception of what you can actually fit on your screen.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously the player amount of said area that you're in, right? Yeah, and they're not gonna base it on the amount of damage it can do. They're gonna base it on when it starts to degrade in quality of gameplay, and that means like dropping frames and you're slowing down the server and things like that. Dominus 2885 says Redacted is great. Thanks everyone. You all rock. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
The
question is, what is everyone's dream control setup? Is there a piece of hardware, software you wish existed for Star Citizen? For example, he wishes he could use the Nintendo Power Glove with Star Citizen to track hand movements. I wish. Do you guys know what the mind control Yoda Star Wars game is, where you get the little floaty ball that goes up and down, and you can just use your brain? I would like that integrated in with VR.
Are you proposing to use brain power?
I am.
You can. There are is it alpha waves or something that you can get controllers like.
No, it's a thing. Like you can go and there's toys you can go and buy that use those. Not very well, I don't think. But, I mean, my dream setup, that would be awesome. Outside of that, I just recently acquired, little shout-out, not sponsored by them, wish I was, Corsair K70 and I had a K70 before, but I got the RGB one. K70 keyboard and an M65 mouse. And this is my favorite setup for keyboard and mouse. So, realistic, I have it.
You have it, yeah.
Unrealistic or fantasy would be just a brain interface. I want to just have a matrix plug and just plug into the back of my brain. And so it feels like everything is real and move around and basically put myself inside the game. That would be the best.
I don't have the ability to fantasize about that sort of stuff. It's not that my head's full of porn or anything. It's that ThriftBot won't allow me to... Like, I genuinely have an expectation and amount of money that I'd spend on stuff, which I actually enjoy doing. I look at peripherals that I own and go, these are perfect for my needs. I didn't spend much money on them. That is my fantasy. I'm a depressing man. I just look at it and just go, this is nice, what I've got.
For me, I basically, for over the last 2 years, I've been looking into getting it. And 6 months ago, I ended up getting a custom left-handed Warthog. So I stand at a desk with a set of Monster Attack mounts. They're the right height. It's ergo. And yes, I stand, in case anyone didn't know that. And I would like to think I'm competitive in Arena Commander. And I've stopped thinking about controlling the ship. I just do it. Just like, you know, if you get very good driving a car, you don't think about moving the wheel. You just do it.
Yeah, you just...
So that's... Yeah,
it's intuitive nature. Yeah, very intuitive.
Exactly. That's where I am, and it's immersive. I lose myself. I forget I'm in a room, and it's to me, dual stick is where to go.
His eyes roll back in his head.
Yes.
Our last question from that gamer dude 3. He says, "Do you think fuel consumption would work as a counterbalance to higher ship top speeds. This assumes a model where all ships have the same or similar top speeds. For example, 25% thrust equals 1 times fuel consumption, 100% thrust equals 5 times fuel consumption. This would allow for larger ships to travel at higher top speeds if they want, at the cost of fuel. It would also force smaller ships to dogfight or do fancy maneuvers at lower speeds. Make maneuvers costly, not slow.
I think that that's kind of a good idea from the point of view that ships should have different amounts of fuel that they can carry and possibly different consumption rates of that fuel. That's what I like from that.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
I like the ideas of it. At the end of the day, though, I want to see where CIG is going with what they're trying to do. They may end up switching over to that or doing something like that later on. But as of right now, that's just not how they're doing it. And like I said, they're relating it more to like the World War II style of gameplay, right? Where you have ships that move a certain speed because of whatever, planes that move, like all of that stuff. And we sort of discussed that earlier. Yeah,
the game.
Yeah. So that's it for our questions. Thank you so much for asking them. We're going to go over quickly what everybody's up to. And then I will be jumping into some Star Marine. If anybody would like to join me, if you guys would like to join me, feel free. If anybody would like to join me in chat, I'll also be doing some giveaways and stuff like that. But we'll start with Nubifier. What are you up to this week, and where can people find you?
So I'm on YouTube only. I'm not a Twitch streamer. I want to say thanks though very much for letting me come today and the last week as well. I know that this is not my regular gig. It's going to be Twerk next week, but I really enjoy interacting with the community and it's just a ton of fun.
No, it's awesome to have you on. So
thanks for stepping up. Substitute Twerk.
Yeah.
Nice. So I'm working on right now. Actually, tonight I'm probably going to launch a video on dropships. Not just the 3 that are announced, but other ships that can be used as dropships. It's about 5 minutes long. So once again, no bullshit like I'm used to doing. Please don't forget about the LTI Carrick giveaway that's ending very soon on my channel. If you've never seen the channel and you like what you see, I would appreciate a subscribe. Obviously, that's the whole point of making the video, to grow the community and get the word out about what I'm doing. So thanks again for having me. It's been lovely.
Yeah, no worries. I think we could do some sort of science experiment a la Rick and Morty and merge Nubifier and Twerk together to call them Twerk 1337.
Twerk 13. Yes, or Trixie.
Twerkifier.
The
Twerkifier 1337.
Or I could just go to Twerk's house and stand next to him while streaming.
Yeah, there you go.
This is the Twerkifier, and welcome to another some bullshit video.
And Board, where can people find you, and what are you up to this week?
I am at Board Gamer UK on pretty much every social medium and the YouTubes and the Twitches. What have you done? What did you do?
I fixed it.
Boardifier.
Okay. Thank you very much for having... Oh, that's what Nubifier said.
Yeah.
No, it's... I'm going to Anime Conference, I think, on Friday to get very drunk and go and talk and socialise, because I very rarely do that now. I literally don't leave my house unless it's to go see my brother. Yeah. So I've got a companion cube, though. So I'll be making Star Citizen videos.
And where can people find you?
They can find me Board Gamer UK on everywhere. But I'm going to be starting to play Rust on Thursday.
And you just got a new server, right?
Yes, so we've got a Hellion server, we've got a Conan server, and now we have a Rust server, although we don't own the Rust server. It's just a friendly mod of mine.
There you go.
So come and join me if you want. It's on the Redacted forums. Have a look there. Go there, see some stuff, and then we'll get some videos up about this VR headset. Probably some stuff about Star Citizen. And probably about these Kinder Choco Bombs.
Are you sponsored?
No.
No, but I wish I was.
The reason I'm so impatient, I got a piece so bad, you guys have no idea.
Yep.
So I'm going to be real quick about this. I'm going to be streaming right after this. We're not even going to go offline. I'm going to be giving away Drake Dragonfly Yellow with LTI here in a second. You can find me here on twitch.tv/WTFasaurus and on Twitter at WTFasaurus. And we will see you guys over there. I'm just going to switch my screen real quick. And I'll be back in about a minute. We'll start that raffle right away. Thank you so much, guys, for coming by. We love you. You guys are the reason that we do this podcast in the first place. All right, guys. Take care.
Bye. It's fun.
Bye. I love you. Okay.